Okay, three, two, one. Welcome, people. The REMINGTOM podcast is live, and I gotta say, this might be as close as we get to being at the top of the entertainment world. I mean, you see the NBA slate right there. It's not a great slate of NBA games there. Well, not a stacked slate of NBA games, we should say. Obviously, any NBA games is great games, but yeah, last game tips off here in a couple minutes, and then we'll just have to be, I guess, scrolling through Tubi tonight to figure out what we're gonna be falling asleep to, because I get, a little Lefko and Shaq back and forth, a little Lefko, Shaq, Candace Parker banner. Is Candace Parker in the studio tonight? I wasn't even paying attention to the studio show beforehand, because make no mistake, it's not the actual Inside the NBA, so you're a little, it's just background show at that point. But respect to all those people. And I know Candace Parker, she has, of course, done a ton of stuff in the booth before, but she was in, did she call like a full game by herself? Or was there a third person there? Again, I don't, it's all background noise at this point, people, but especially for the announcers as well, too. I mean, like you guys have seen a couple of times, I'm throwing on ESPN Deportes just to learn Spanish, just to at least mix it up. I mean, you get to watching so much basketball, I feel like you can kind of get a general sense of what's going on. Do I need anybody to tell me that they're setting a high screen at the top of the key chat? Yes, there's going to be a guy in the corner. The defense is probably going to switch it. I mean, 85% of it, I feel like you can get the beats of it. What is this Nike commercial, chat? Sha'Carri Richardson, Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, Juju Watkins, chat. This is a stacked list of athletes. I don't know what's going on here, but straight into a Nate Bargatze DoorDash. Shout out. But Pacers Bucks is the headliner anyways, and Pacers, of course, are on top to start the first quarter. And I know, like we said, maybe not the most stacked slate of games, but this is not a bad one so far to start. This is a fun game. The ball's moving around so far. These teams are, they're three-point shooting teams, obviously, but if it's going in, it's a fun game. Lillard is fun. Halliburton, I think we just need to do a little Halliburton corner to pause. Do we just need to start off with a little Tyrese Halliburton check-in chat? Because we were raving about his stats, but like Sam said, he has been a little up and down. And that is the only thing ranking us from being behind the NBA games on watchability scale right now, chat, is it's just us and IT right now. So if Sam called in, then immediately the Rem and Sam pod jumps up over the NBA games. But Sam called in on Sundays, so he's firing off hot takes, everything from Jokic versus Shea to Joe Tooney, chat. So you got to check it out if you haven't yet. Of course, that was on the last live stream we did. But for Shea for the season, what were the splits for the season now? 46-39 for the season. What was he at last year? 47-36. So he's actually on the year better from three this year than he was last year. And last year he had a stretch. Let's see if we can refigure that out real quick, chat. Because it was definitely to start the season. And I'm sure he had, peaks and valleys after the initial sort of hot start. And there's a couple of, streaky games in here, 1 for 8 and 0 for 5. But it felt like for the first chunk there, he was really, really cooking off. I mean, he was an all-star, and I felt like he was even hovering in that first team All-NBA conversation, chat. I'll have to go back and check the tapes and see what we're talking about. I guess we could just look at the win-losses here and see, because they do hit a losing patch mid-December. But before that, first 18 games, 52, 41%, 27 a game, 12 assists. So I know there's a couple losses in here, and then he misses a game. But first, we like round numbers, chat. Let's go first 20 games. So I guess there's an inactive here. But, yeah, he was 50, 40, and, in the highs of those numbers. He's not just barely being a 50-40. I got 52, 43%, 26%, or 26 points a game, 12 assists, chat. I mean, guard Jokic numbers, basically. And then, unfortunately, some of the injuries as well, too. Just it got derailed a little bit. I mean, yeah, you can see how the shooting really tailed off here. The three-point shooting really tailed off to end the season. And, again, this team was in the conference finals last year as well, too. So you don't necessarily have to go back and be like, Halliburton didn't have they had a great season last year. It's just saying that some of the numbers maybe were, different throughout the course of the year. But it feels like he's kind of flipped that this year, where to start the season, kind of okay. Halliburton, he's still obviously, an upper level guard, but has he taken necessarily a step up? He wasn't able to be a huge contributor on Team USA. I mean, with no disrespect to Tyler Halliburton, I mean, it's LeBron, Steph, Kevin Durant, all the top guys. But, excuse me, Chad. Last 36 games, he's been right back there, Chad. At least from three, 43% from three. 36 games as well, too. I mean, this goes back to basically the start of December. It's the last 4 months of basketball. And the volume is not there. You see 20 points a game, 9 assists as well, too. But the efficiency has been back for Tyrese Halliburton. And that's been very, very important, of course, for the Pacers. I mean, you see him just been ripping off a ton of wins here up until he hasn't played the last couple of games. And then he's back tonight against Milwaukee. And they are up 5 right now. So would this be, I think this might be the playoff matchup, honestly. Let's see. Oh, that's division standings. This might be the 4-5. And is Indiana the 4 right now? Would Indiana have home court? Milwaukee would have home court. So this would be the 4-5. Milwaukee's the 4. Indiana's the 5. So this game would at least tie them up. It says Indiana's a full game back. So I guess if they have the tie, would Milwaukee still be? We'd have to really dig into the tiebreakers there. What's the head-to-head record for the year, chat? I guess we don't have to dig too deep into the stats to look that up. IT could probably help us guide us to the schedule tab anyways. Grandpa, where's the schedule tab at? Or I guess it would be grandson to grandpa, but is that a pause, chat? It might be. Let's see. Well, 39, still 5, I guess. Milwaukee. They played them earlier in November, and then on New Year's Eve, December 31st as well, too. Lost twice. So even with this one, Milwaukee would have the upper hand at this point on the season schedule, but there's another game in Milwaukee this upcoming Saturday, Chad. So that game is like a mini playoff implication-y game. I know there's still a handful of games left in the season. The schedules can bear out. They wouldn't necessarily need tiebreakers, but these are closely matched teams as well, too. 8-point game, chat, in the last one, and then 12-point game in the game before that. And that was in-season tournament as well, too, the other time they matched up. So that was a Friday. I'm guessing that was just a regular season game. That wasn't... Did they play in the... I'm trying to remember if these games would even show up in this box score now and how they would even appear, chat. Because, what happened in the in-season tournament? I mean, that's what happens when it's not LeBron, chat. Who won the in-season tournament? Oh, did Steph won it, right? Yeah, the Warriors won the in-season tournament this year. The Warriors... Do we have to go back and revisit the in-season tournament? Already year 2, it's washed up, chat. It's just what it is. But maybe it's just getting started. Who knows? Jericho Sims. I forgot the Bucks had Jericho Sims. He's one of those guys, poor Jericho Sims. It feels like Russillo is always giving Jericho Sims a hard time. It's like, hey, Russillo, Jericho Sims is give you a good 8 minutes a game. Is that what you want from an NBA guy? I don't know, chat, but 8 minutes is not bad. But pause. Hey, yo, whoa. I mean, you can quote us for that. 8 minutes is not bad. It's just, we're talking about basketball, chat. We're talking about basketball. But for Jericho Sims, anyways, he gives them more center versatility than what they had before. So that's at least something. I don't know how many teams you could bring in Jericho Sims and he could be an upgrade for us. So take that, Russillo. A pro Jericho Sims point. He's an upgrade, not again over Brook Lopez, but who was even the backup center on the Bucks beforehand? What a dark roster spot, chat. The pause, cancel us now. But the backup center for Milwaukee, it's just like that person's just a mystery, because I feel like that person would be the 10th man on the Bug, and the 10th man has just not been. The Bucks just haven't been the most. They haven't been the deepest team in the league this year. Pause, but. You got a couple guys now. AJ Green, of course, has played well this year for him. Has been a big part. Unfortunately, I don't know how you want to phrase it, but he's been kind of their... I feel like AJ Green is their second best player, to be honest. Or at least are the Bucks at their best when AJ Green is their second best player? Because at least when Middleton was there, if AJ Green's like having an awesome game, you could still, and Middleton's still playing well as well too. Like you could still be going to Middleton at the end of games, and Middleton still has the pedigree where you go, okay, you got Middleton and Giannis at the end of these games with you got some confidence in those guys maybe, and then AJ Green could be playing well in some spots as well too, with of course a variety of the other guys. But now it's like when he's running around doing the 3-point thing, creating spacing. I mean, obviously Dame as well too, but it's just when he gets going, chat, it's really gets the it opens up the rest of the team. It is what it is, chat. We had to say it. It is what it is. It just opens up the rest of the team. But they also have added, Kevin Porter Jr. as well too, who again I have not given up on, chat. I know times are tough. I know stocks are up and down all over the place right now. I don't know what is, nobody knows what the future of the economy is going to be. And I don't know if we've had a couple of tariffs on our Kevin Porter Jr. stock at all, chat, but make no mistake, we're keeping it anyways. 25% from three this year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 43% from the field. I look at that and go, he's still 43% and is somehow shooting, he's doing decent from two. If he's just that bad from three and the field goal number is still like, kind of serviceable. But yeah, when did he get there? How long is he? Got there February, so yeah, of course. But it's been a double-digit guy for him. The volume's been there for him as well. And make no mistake, Kevin Porter Jr., when you put him out there for some minutes, like he will create his own way. He'll take matters into his own hands. He's not gonna leave anything up to choice. But yeah, look at 50% from the field in the last couple of games with the Bucks. We'll just casually leave out this last game where it looks like he didn't shoot that well. 1 for 3 though. That's not going to affect the numbers too much. Three field goals overall. But 52% from the field in the last 11 games and 33% from three is a lot better than 23%. So we'll take that. 9 and 3 in 16 minutes. A steal a game. -1 on the box score. That feels like it's all good for Kevin Porter Jr., to be honest. It feels like these might all be, not career highs for points because he's had some scoring moments there where, again, at least he was getting more volume in Houston. But there was some efficiency with some of the numbers. It was 37% from three that year in Houston. Yeah, so, 59 games in 22, 23, 44%, 36%, 19%. I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to dig that up in 100 years and be like, ooh, Kevin Porter Jr. But, that's a decent season in there. It's not bad numbers. And then if he continues to have some decent production off the bench for this Bucks team, he might have a playoff moment. Look at this. There's not even a playoff tab on his resume, chat. And, there may be reasons for that. But, you love to give guys second chances, chat. You love to, forgive and all that. So, yeah, it depends, of course. But, but, he was in the pro leagues. He was bouncing around. It feels like he has, worked his way back into the league. He's earned his minutes, and again, he's producing. So he's never been in the playoffs before. He's gonna be taking shots in playoff games. It's just what it is. There'll be end of shot clock moments where it's like, oh, Kevin Porter Jr. from the perimeter, because that's what happens when, unfortunately, you get Jokic. One of the big differences between Jokic and Giannis, of course, is the perimeter thing. And who's going to make up for Giannis's lack of three-point shooting, chat? If it's not Dame Lillard, it's going to be Kevin Porter Jr. And if it's not AJ Green as well. But, again, those are at least some guys. Fouled on a three-point shot right there. I feel like getting to the line, he was 4.5 a game that year in Houston. Not bad. He's playing 34 minutes a game that year. So I was going to go look up his per 36 numbers, but this is basically what they would be. I mean, you're only giving him a minute and a half more per game. Yeah, puts him officially up over the 20 mark. 20-7 though? Oh, 20-7 this year in Milwaukee. I mean, look at that, Chad. He's a 20-7 guy. That's not bad. 20-6 that year in Houston. Oh, I'm buying even more. Call the account, buy more stock. Is there more stock on? Is there something on Poly Market that's like Kevin Porter Jr. playoff buzzer beater at some point. Lock it in, chat. I see it happening, but at least again the shot's going up, but I can't quite envision. I just see the arc of the ball, and it's just a mystery of whether or not it looks like it's online, but you never know. It could be back rim out, Kawhi Leonard rim in, backboard, chat. You just never know. Did Doncic bank in that shot over Gobert? I think he might have. Doncic does like to use the backboard a little bit. He's a guy that banks in enough threes. You're almost like, okay, I feel like he could go for it, but I don't remember exactly. I mean, I remember more so the trash talk at Rudy Gobert afterwards, chat. Just the, all-time Luka Doncic in your face. Hey, I guess backpedaling away, not really in Gobert's face, but yelling loud enough that goes down at least in the new era of one of the newer iconic trash talk moments, anyways. But that'll be what lived on. And again, they didn't win the finals that year. They made the finals, of course, last year, but didn't win it. Doncic gets traded to the Lakers. So I guess, is that the peak of Doncic for the Mavs? That might be, chat. I don't know if, just randomly we're going to stumble into, a Doncic Apex Mavericks Mountain moment. But, hey, yo, chat. I don't know how we said that perfectly, but I don't know. It feels like that buzzer beater might be the highlight of it. Because, again, in the conference finals as well, with the finals on the line, and he did have a couple of really good performances and a bunch of, I think like in the first half of the bunch of those finals games, he was playing really well as well too. But, when they actually got the win, was it 3-0 at that point? And, we know what the series is, that amazing Doncic performance is not going to mean anything, even though, like, comparing it to, say, like a LeBron 2018, where I think that series, eventually got 3-1. Golden State just ripped off the next three. I mean, did they win that series in 5? They might have won that series in 5, to be honest, if I remember that correctly. But, the anticipation of what the series is going to be in a game 1, and even going into game 2, you just go, oh, in game 1 they were able to beat, and we kind of knew that, were the Cavs going to get that same level of game both, because it's not just like, are they going to play the same? Are they going to play the same in contrast with the way that the Warriors are able to play at a certain level, and now they're hanging in the game, and then, you got to be able to close out those games. And unfortunately, we all know what happened. But, again, where there's just a little more hope earlier on in the series when you're having these awesome games and you're down 3-0, it's like, okay. And you're more likely to have an awesome game because the team's just going to give up, where those early games are just going to be more competitive. And the outcome of the series is much more on the line. But, yeah, just to once again say and remind people that LeBron is over Luka. And they did lose. Was Luka not in that game, though, against Brooklyn the other night? Tough matchup. And Reeves hasn't been necessarily, I don't think, shooting the ball as well over the last couple of games. At least, in those couple of games there, than he had been recently. Because they need Reeves as well, too, as a three-man. As much as LeBron and Luka have been playing extremely well offensively, they're still, and defensively as well, too. They're still, against the upper-level teams, they're going to need a little bit more offense to supplement. They're just, they're not defensive stoppers, and they can play great. LeBron can lock in for some possessions and play great for games, and hopefully for playoff series after the injuries as well, too. Not saying that he can't, but, when he turns it up to play defense, he can. We know Luka can play defense as well. And I know people are, there's a whole debate about the size and all that stuff in the getting in shape, but Sam sent me a clip of Doncic playing defense, like, just being like, see, like, when Doncic locks in, like, it's all there. And, he can be kind of the two-way player. It's a little Harden-esque with the way he can play defense. But the way he was playing defense, he almost looked like a left tackle. Like, the guy was trying to drive from the top, baseline going to the rim. And Luka's just shuffling his feet like, nope, like Joe Thomas, Chad. That's the Luka comp right now. Forget James Harden. Can we comp Luka to Joe Thomas on defense? I know offensive tackle, again, it's an offensive position, but it's kind of a defensive position on offense. You're not really, well, you're not really attacking as an offensive tackle, but I say that, but the good ones, of course, they're just taking out a guy, pause, and they're attacking eventually. But it all kind of starts, I think, in a drop back. But we'll have to go watch some Larry Allen highlights. Was Larry Allen just pass blocking forward at the snap and just getting on top of the edges and just right away swallowing these guys up. I don't even have to go back and really lock in on the Trent Williams. As much as we love Trent Williams, and as much as we try to watch as much different stuff going on in the field as possible, it can be a little hard to track some of the left tackle stuff at times. And Trent Williams is the one that you're like, if you're gonna lock in on a guy, and just the entertainment value watching him for a full game, like you can definitely get there. But it's like, do we want Doncic to slim down? Is he gonna lose his left tackle abilities as a defender? But yeah, I guess we'll just continue to see. And again, big picture, if they bring LeBron back at the 2-week mark, it's still 6 to 7 games. You assume they're probably going to be 3-4, 3-3 in that stretch, especially if Luka plays in a couple of those games. But they could be 1-5, 2-6. You never know. It could get, and then they're up to the 3. It's like they're not in that mix of fighting for not being in the play-in game, and for like they're not going to be they're going to be a top 6 team when LeBron gets back, and they're going to manage to ride the season out in that spot. But at least for this mini stretch, we'll see where it goes. But in the meantime, we'll see if Kevin Porter Jr. is able to outplay anybody on the Lakers chat. Is this a nickname we can say out loud on the stream, chat? I didn't know this was a nickname for Kevin Porter Jr. And this is a compliment. We know Joker is one of the great, characters of all time in movies. But Kevin Porter Jr., Black Joker, chat? The Black Heath Ledger, Kevin Porter Jr.? Is Kevin Porter Jr. a character actor like that? I think, Heath Ledger, the thing about Ledger is that, he could take on any role. If Kevin Porter Jr. feels like he's got one role in the NBA. Not to say that, again, we don't believe in his abilities. But maybe he's more like a Keanu Reeves, chat? Do we need like the Black John Wick, Kevin Porter Jr.? Or, Joker? I guess, are they going villain arc for Kevin Porter Jr. with the Joker comp? But, I guess John Wick could go either. He's, anti-hero. The Joker's an anti-hero, right? Maybe not necessarily in The Dark Knight. He's not an anti-hero. And I guess that's just, of course, we're saying the Joker. It's just our generation, chat. It's going to be the number one Joker. And I had a moment, not that I can say I can even have an old guy moment, but it's not even an old guy moment. It's just like a generational time culture type thing where I was thinking about, some album ranking stuff and just some stuff for maybe some stay tuned chat, some future things we have going on. But I was thinking about how stuff has aged and how stuff has held up, and I'm like, oh yeah, look at all this stuff still holds up. But then I'm like, wait, all this stuff holds up to the people that I talk to, and all the people that I talk to are like, my age, and all these people are, again, we're all growing up at the same time, consuming the same things. Like, we're not necessarily going to be losing the interest in the certain things that we were in on back in the day. And it's like, wait, oh, there's like a whole new, maybe 2, 3, I don't know how you categorize, because cultural generations are different than, of course, like the boomers to millennials to Gen X, because those can be like decade plus things. But culture moves, and eventually you look back, and I think maybe as time goes on, it can sort of, we don't look back at the Renaissance period and break it up by decade or by year. That's just an era. But at least, you still look back at the 19th century is not that far, or the 20th century is not that far away, the 1900s. Like, you still look at that and you go, decades, there's still kind of distinct. But even that, you don't necessarily look at it and go, oh, the first half of the 90s versus the second half of that. At least for, again, people like myself that weren't in the moment growing up with all this stuff in the 90s, 80s, 70s, all that stuff. So I don't necessarily know how you would even like define cultural generations, but I'm like, I can't even like speak to how this stuff is, how this stuff is translating from, what are the kids listening to, chat? Like, as much as you want to say like this artist has this, this album has aged better for, and it's in the rotations more of, people our age. It's like, oh, this is the album that everybody still listens to. It's like, well, yeah, that album is great for, the people that had that album in the moment, but maybe the other one has transcended the generations, and you're still listening to it, plus the kids are listening to it. Like Gen X might be a perfect example for that, where how that hit the streaming era, and how that especially with some of the TikTok stuff as well too, and of course the Kendrick and SZA collabs, and the way SZA was already, I'm sure helped with, she was a megastar in a kind of a different way, and helped kind of Crossy, and not that of course they hadn't collaborated in the past, but of course those collaborate, and again with Kendrick going to a different level as well too. Ultimately, Kendrick is the driving force of not only their two collaborations, chat, but of the genre, and almost of just the entire music industry at this point. You can just argue he's just the number one guy in general right now. But, and of course I think maybe even GNX, like Good Kid Mad City is like such a great album, where I feel like it's still even managed to get in with some of the the younger, and maybe even like that's cancel us now, chat, but it has still managed, I think, to even maybe with the some of the high school age or whatever, I think it's still being listened to pretty heavily. But again, like I'm a Kendrick fan. I'm probably still gonna always gravitate toward Good Kid as the greater album, but that's not to say that at this moment I'm listening to it more than GNX, and it's not to say that, again, with the way that the way that just GNX is in the rotation so much, and just like it's like the way it's defining this era of life, it's at least starting to, and it's going to as well too. Like it's not leaving the rotation anytime soon. Kendrick's not going anywhere, and again, just with his legacy and the way that lives on, there's just going to be a connection to that album in a different way, where maybe even like TPAP, or the 2017, or of course the album's probably already passed Mr. Morale in the legacy rankings. But, again, we'll see, best album at the Grammys. Mr. Morale did win best album. So, Kendrick will be going up against Tyler, and, Doechii will probably drop a solo album. We'll see if she drops it at this portion of the year where it would compete against those, or, later in the year where it would be for the the 2027 Grammys at that point. But, were we talking about... Why are we talking about... We got off on John Wick and albums, chat. I forget where that tangent was going, but somewhere, chat. It just is like bringing up Kendrick now. Sorry to do it, chat. It's just what it is. It's, again, he's just the number one guy. It's just him and LeBron. He's in that mode right now, chat. He's in that mode where he's just going to be brought up in any conversation. I mean, how many guys are... maybe even athletes, or not... Kendrick, we call him an athlete, but... But, how many guys, at least from, are like transcendent in that way, chat, of like the household names. And I guess, we could probably even, go bigger picture, of course, just look at America in general. But I don't know if it's our place to do that. But just, as what those mediums are as well, too, sports and hip hop, like they are, of course, like football. Like, of course, guys with football are able to do it. Like, I think Steph as well is like is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is, you would argue, some would maybe even argue that he's a better all-time basketball player than Steph Curry, and maybe that's not, it may be like 2 spots away, chat. Like I'm saying, it may be like close on my own ranking. Maybe I'd have it one way. But in terms of the conversational power of it, I mean, we all know what, the popularity that Steph is working with in terms of name value. And like we were talking about with Luka, especially with that Lakers-Celtics game as well. And, we were mentioning the level of excitement we felt for that game. And they did release the viewer numbers for it. And I think they said it was like the most watched regular season game in almost 7 years, chat. 7 years. So that would predate LeBron with the Lakers, honestly. Or, maybe like one of those, I guess. Here, can we do a quick little research? Because I think I might have saved the post. Oh, chat, what is this? We got a software update. Nice. Okay. Was it NBA? No, I think it was ESPN. Probably gassing up their own product, of course. As you would expect, chat. Letting us know that everybody's tuning in. The NBA is not dead. Everybody's watching. This might have been main page. I don't think it was NBA on ESPN. Unless it's just there's so much free agency news that it just got lost in the shuffle already. No, I think that news hit after the Steph Curry signing as the Warriors GM, or not the Warriors GM, with the Davison GM, the first active player to hold an administrative role in a college campus, college organization. So shout out. Maybe it was after. I don't know. Okay, one last. We'll check the saved here real quick, chat. And then. Oh, clutch. We did get it, chat. Oh, it was the NBA. It wasn't even ESPN. It was just straight up the NBA posting it. Lakers Celtics average 4.61 million viewers on the Saturday primetime, making it the most watched regular season game in 7 years, excluding Christmas Day. Okay, so that's, I think, an important note for the total viewer number, because I was looking at that going, 4.6, like, and again, you get like the NFL numbers in your brain, but with the Christmas numbers, I feel like they probably been a little bit higher than. Maybe they've probably been up over 5, of course, with some of the Christmas ones. But the game, it says the game peaked at 5.3 as well, too. But yeah, it doesn't say, I guess, in the post which one was the most watched last game, which would have been good information. Anybody comment? Yeah, comments are saying regular TV helps, of course. But, yeah, nobody's given us the last game. Nobody's done that research. So I guess the numbers probably are out there if we really wanted to dig into them. We probably could figure it out. But apparently, 7 years ago, there was a game so anticipated that it got in like 4 point something million viewers than that. And up 92% versus the comparable window as well, too. I guess, is that just in general? So that's pretty crazy as well. But, yeah, I mean, like we were saying, the anticipation was felt, not just for us, but throughout the league, obviously, and throughout the casual fan a little bit. And Luka has that name value now, and it's hard to say, or difficult to say, whether or not it is attached to just what he is as a player. And I mean, of course it is attached to what he is as a player. It's, 95% of it. But I guess, he does get a little bit of a boost with the trade and with the LA thing. And that trade is such a... became such a hot sports topic that I think it did cross over into the mainstream a little bit. I think that trade became almost a mainstream topic in a way, which is crazy. And just the Lakers being involved in general is definitely going to push it into that tier where, Cowboys are making a blockbuster move like that. If the Yankees are making a blockbuster move, like anybody, I guess Yankee stars are a good one, but baseball is at that level where even Yankee stars, like, I guess, it's a safe guess to say Judge is still there, right, chat? Like, I'm assuming Judge is still there, Stanton, like their main guys. And again, as a sports fan, of course, I know the names. We know what's up, that Judge and Stanton are, of course, good players, great players, all-star, all MLB. What is the name of your team, chat? I don't know what you guys are calling your all-baseball team, but, we know that those guys are top caliber players. But they're not in the conversation. They don't just get brought up as like default names where, like you're saying, Kendrick is just in that phase now where he's just like a default name. And, Drake fans, we're not saying that Drake's not. I feel like, of course, Kendrick is a hotter name than Drake as of right now. I don't know if Drake is in that tier yet. And, how many music artists are truly in that, like, really transcendent tier in a way? And, you look at the streams, like, what is Kendrick right now? 4th on the streams? Like, you still have Bruno Mars, The Weeknd, and Lady Gaga over him. And Lady Gaga just dropped an album as well, too, so we'll have to check that out. It seems like everybody's really raving about that. And, yeah, it seems like it really is going to hold up. But in terms of the conversation, are Bruno Mars and Gaga like dominating the conversation the way that Kendrick is? And, they're not beefing with other people. Is Gaga beefing with somebody? I don't know if Bruno Mars is. He's beefing with the Debt Collectors, chat, but at least in terms of artists, like, he's not dissing artists in other songs. So, there's reasons, of course, for that. Like, of course, we're talking about something. But, again, like, who is at that level? The the way that Taylor Swift was in the conversation there for, these last couple of years, it is, I mean, yeah, and again, she's still one of the hottest artists right now. In a lot of ways, chat. In a lot of ways. Especially, what was that one look she had on recently, chat? Where she had the quads out. It was the Saquon Taylor Barkley look. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, that was like poster material, chat. I don't know. IT's gonna start blowing up those images. Pause. But yeah, like the way that she is a topic of conversation just is a little bit less than it was a couple of years ago, and the way that it just was all, accumulating with the albums and with, again, beef. Of course, beef is just always going to be the best way to get your name out there. But, beefing with the labels, and then, of course, the relationship with Travis Kelce appearing at all the NFL games. But, she might be like number 2 still. I guess she's right there, like, conversation-wise, is still the top person. And the name value at this point is so solidified that she's always going to be, like, grandmas aren't going to forget the name Taylor Swift at this point. Is that going to be stuck in the memory, chat? It'll be impressive. We'll have to, if anybody's test it with like some dementia. I don't know how we can, fully put this hypothesis out there, but but if, I feel like just her popularity is just pretty locked in at this point with how people are going to recognize her and how she's going to be noticed as just a celebrity. But is Kevin Porter Jr. in that name value, chat? Is he in the name value rankings yet? I'm not sure. We somehow stumbled into halftime, chat, for Pacers Bucks. Giannis, I think he's just having one of those games. He's just dunking everything at will. He's missed like one shot at this point. We can get an official stats look here for Giannis. 6 for 7, 14 points. Taurean Prince. That's the nice thing about Giannis being efficient, is it leaves room for guys like Taurean Prince to put up 12 shots. 12 shots! Taurean Prince is going to go for 24 shots. Forget about Giannis's great performance. They're showing the tweets here as we go into halftime. Candace Parker, Vince Carter, Shaq, left coast, shout out. But forget about all the greatness for Giannis. Taurean Prince is going to go for 30 field goals tonight. If this game gets close in the second half and Taurean Prince needs... We were talking about AJ Green and Kevin Porter Jr. taking over. It's going to be Taurean Prince. Lillard 1 for 5. He's good to let Taurean Prince cook. As long as they're within 2 and he's like... He's at the end of the day, it is Giannis's team. Giannis has got to go out there and win the game. Like, that's kind of at the mode Lillard's in. Siakam, though, is holding pace. I mean, 6 for 7 as well, too, chat. Andy has the 3-pointers in there. That gets him to the 16, 10 rebounds. Giannis is at 9 rebounds, so Siakam, I guess 4 assists for Giannis, 2 for Siakam. So it's close. It's Siakam, or 3 for Siakam, 4 for Giannis. So Siakam outplaying Giannis, chat. First half, is it official? Do we say that? Is that the declaration at the end of the first half? Siakam outduels Giannis Antetokounmpo, chat. But we better hit some of this free agency news. We better dig in because it was a busy day, busy couple of days. I don't know, do we start with the additions or do we start with the subtractions? I feel like the most notable team right now has been the Niners with just the defense. Everybody just parting ways, chat. It's the end of the Fast 7 for everybody on the Niners defense. It's like if there was 16 roads at the end of Fast 7. It's just Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga, Trevarius Ward. Everybody's got their own lane, chat. But do we have to? I guess we should probably just counter real quick with who they even brought in to figure out what is going on in San Francisco. I mean, they are a team that... I mean, Richie Grant at safety, as much as we love Hufanga, I guess we don't... Richie Grant is for free, basically. $0, chat. Richie Grant's just voluntarily going to show up and play for the Niners. So I think you're probably going to trade Hufanga if he's going to do that. But Farrell, bringing him in as tight end. Kevin Givens, defensive tackle, re-signing him, who I think is pretty solid as well too, chat. I don't know if we have as much Kevin Given stock as we do Kevin Porter Jr. stock, but there might be a couple of shares laying around there somewhere. So do they just draft all in on defense, or is this just we need to clear cap space for Brock Purdy, or are they just officially just resetting what they had as a franchise? I mean, they're still keeping the big pieces in place. Pause. They still got, of course, Fred Warner, a mainstay, still going to be there. You've still got Nick Bosa, and you still, like we're saying, McCaffrey, Ayuk. As much as we love Debo, as much as Debo would be our personal favorite of the Niners receivers, there has been probably a case over the last couple of years that Ayuk is, and maybe the case is that you paid Ayuk a ton of money, but play-wise as well, there's the case that Ayuk has been the better guy. So, again, the Niners are in the Chiefs-y type way. John Lynch has done a great job getting our white guys mixed up, Chad. John Lynch has done a great job running that organization. Kyle Shanahan's done a great job of coaching them up over the last couple of years. It does feel like they maybe have slipped a little. It's hard to say that they've slipped a little bit in the player development because you get like Jawan Jennings this past year, had such a great season, but it feels like he's been, bubbling under the surface, as a big time performer for a while, and maybe even more so than the just mentioning, choosing between Ayuk and Debo. Like we say, Jawan Jennings, whatever his discounted contract is going to be versus Debo's, might be just the more favorable team building thing at this point. And Jennings, I don't know if we can actually say Jennings over Debo, but Jennings has played well. Jennings is a good player for sure. But and you look at all the guys that they got rid of, like there is a age thing that's kind of going on with them. They've got of course Ward and Hufanga. I think Hufanga, of course, has been injured over the last couple of years. And make no mistake, like we'll talk positively when we just wrap up. I guess a lot of these guys going to the Broncos, him and Greenlaw both, but both of them returning off of injuries. There is a case there that giving him a ton of money, maybe it is a better thing to let a franchise do. So it's difficult to look at it and say that it's a full-on like reset. Are they, what is the direction of the team, all that stuff. But it's a lot of talent out the door. It doesn't matter, Chad. It's a lot of talent out the door. It's a lot of starters. It's a lot of places that they're going to have to try to refill. And do we need to just look up what they're working with as a lineup even at this point? And like, Jalen Moore, the tackle, like he wasn't really a big starter for him over the course. Of course, Trent Williams is locking down that one tackle spot. Hopefully the entire season, outside of the times that he might have missed a game or two with injury. I think we're saying you still have a linebacker. You're getting rid of a linebacker. I think do they still have Lenore as a corner? And I think they really kind of valued him at the end of last year too. They'll flip on a corner quicker than anybody, Chat. The Niners will pay a guy, waive a guy. In the Ward contract he signed, so he played out his deal in San Francisco, but it feels like they always get a guy that they'll sign a big free agent corner and he'll have like a good season and a half, and then he may not be the same, but then all of a sudden there's just this other young guy across from him that is just playing well. And it's like, okay, well, at the end of the day, the cornerback room is making sense. I don't know if it's how we added it up. So yeah, Lenore is still there. And then Renardo Green. Okay, so they do have starters. Forgot about Renardo Green, Chad. Shout out. But PFF grades him out pretty favorably. I feel like Mufasta, Chad. Brown as well too. Is this the Big Ten guy? Yeah, Penn State. I like him as a player as well. So again, Hufanga. The Niners are a good drafting team. So hopefully they do continue to stay on that player development path, because some of these names are not too bad. Luke Gifford, Chet. Okay, D. Winters, will forever harbor certain feelings toward because of what he did to Michigan in that playoff game, college football playoff game. But regardless, he is a good upside guy as well too. I could see him continuing to develop into a quality starter. And Drake Jackson, second round pick. maybe it's time to prove what you got with him as well. So I get it. It gives them space to pay Purdy. They have some guys that are already under big contracts, but it does feel like, of course, the window has shifted for him. So maybe that's better for the Niners. Maybe no expectations is a good thing in a way, and they can just kind of cruise and be an underdog team. Because again, like Warner would still be the guy that I would want. Trent Williams with, even his age, chat, it'd still be a left tackle that you're just taking. Nick Bosa, you still got to respect his talent as well too. 4th overall edge by PFF grades. Kittle is of course best at his position in the league, arguably in terms of an all-around talent. And the Seahawks as well, I think another big player in free agency. It's hard to say that they necessarily got better this year. Their roster just got different as well. They got Sam Darnold in there. And I know it's a little split because it's one of those, like, are you building your team by the books or are you building your team by the player? And again, sometimes it works, and the Eagles, I feel like a lot of times build their team by the book. So, and as much as we say, they do have great players, and of course they're just really great at scouting their players, they're also a team that values rookie contracts and cheaper free agents, and they'll pay for the premium positions. But even some of the edge guys, like we've seen them rotate through the defensive linemen in a way, and even they lost Josh Sweat in the offseason this year as well too, and that's just another edge that was big for him in the Super Bowl, big for him throughout the regular season as well too. So they do have a method to the way they build their team. They're just again really good at replenishing that talent through the draft and amazing at scouting out talent, getting great trade value as well too. Of course, Howie Roseman's been able to take advantage of that market several times, but this is like a peak case of that where, and at the end of the day, like Geno in Oakland, Sam Darnold in Vegas, like it is, it's layered and not so layered because it's probably going to be 6 to 9 wins either way. But, how do you want to, 6 wins is you're out of the playoffs, 9 wins is maybe you're in the playoffs, and maybe saying Darnold's like a 6-win quarterback is disrespectful. The man was awesome this past year for most of the season. But, is he necessarily a better quarterback than Geno Smith? I mean, Geno Smith has been, for his, as crazy as it might be to say, Geno Smith has been better for more seasons than Sam Darnold has, even though Sam Darnold, of course, was the higher draft pick at one point, and still might even be the guy that you say has just the higher upside, the higher level of play, But is he just the better quarterback than Geno Smith at this point? It is an argument, but you're going to pay Geno Smith more. Geno Smith's going to demand more, of course, with his impending free agency. And if you trade Geno Smith as well, too, you always get that thing of at least you're going to get a little bit back for him as well. So let me remember exactly what pick they got in that trade. And they got the 2nd round pick for DK Metcalf. So that's another one of the roster player development situations where a 2nd round pick, I mean, and they're getting a 2nd round pick from the Steelers. Like maybe that pick is just blessed to be a good receiver, That's a team that is usually really good at highlighting that talent in that spot of the draft. And that's just a spot in the draft where you can usually get that talent. So who knows that they'll actually, of course, end up drafting a receiver when we get to that point. But you can do it. And now we're looking at a rookie guy who, again, to be honest, we like a lot of those 2nd round picks who can probably be a productive guy on a much cheaper deal. And maybe it is, a bit of a smarter team building move. But, yeah, for the Geno Smith trade here, chat, let's take a look. It was exactly is it not logged in here yet? I don't know if they have it on here. What was the trade? Okay, I guess we'll just have to look it up real fast. Is DK Metcalf, did they get more for more for DK Metcalf than they did Geno Smith? DK Metcalf worth more than a quarterback potentially? That could be crazy. A 3rd. He was worth a 3rd. Wow. Was that it? Did the Seahawks have to give a pick back? There might have been, was there like a 6 and 7 swap in that Steelers deal? I think there might have been one of those in there as well. But nope, just a 2025 third from Vegas. Okay. So maybe that's one where, again, you're not going to maybe you do take a quarterback in the third. Jackson Dart at this point, probably not going to be there in the third. But maybe there is a guy hanging around that you want to take a swing on as a long-term option. But you get to, from their standpoint of view, you say, hey, we were paying for this level of quarterback play and we were okay with that. And we theorized with Sam Darnold that we can still be able to do that. And to be honest, I kind of get it. Maybe it's cheap, cost-cutting, a couple $1 million, and maybe at the end of the day, Geno Smith is really the guy that you'd want. But again, like, is Geno Smith swinging playoff games? Especially, now we're going to the AFC. The AFC is really loaded. The AFC West, he's going to be playing against Mahomes a couple times a year. And maybe Darnold in the NFC West is not great either, because now he's got to play the Rams twice a year, and the Rams were the one team that were responsible for a couple of his bad games. He only played bad last year against the Rams and the Lions, so I don't know why he would try to directly compete against the team that makes him look bad. Or Sam Darnold out for revenge. Is Sam Darnold just have that killer instinct that we just haven't quite learned about yet, chat? And when he's going to go out there and get revenge against the Rams for the next couple of seasons, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to lock that in and happening. But, they have JSN on the rookie contract. Again, they can go a receiver direction in the draft. They have a lot of young talent on defense. So it's a building the team by the books type of move. They're looking at the contracts. They're looking at the stats. They're looking at the numbers on paper. And they're just going, yeah, I mean, $30 million, whatever, for this type of guy makes a lot of sense. But can we do 40? Are we really going to get up into these numbers? And for this level of quarterback, I would honestly maybe gear toward going for the more cost-effective option. And to be honest, I like Geno Smith as well too, so I wouldn't be against giving Geno Smith a few extra dollars to come play quarterback for the team. That's not a bad thing at all. Let's take care of our guy Geno Smith. Let's make sure our quarterback is living in luxury. And he's going to need the few extra dollars in Vegas when he's sitting at those slot machines after a couple of those losses, chat. He can blow through that contract a little bit. Pause. But it's not, I don't think, a super needle moving move either way for the Seahawks. And it, for the what it does, I guess maybe the thing that Geno will benefit from more so than Sam Darnold will be that, again, Sam Darnold is taking over for Geno. Geno Smith is just more equal to Sam Darnold's level than Gardner Minshew is equal to Geno Smith's level. So the upgrade that Geno Smith is walking into is just, Geno Smith is probably going to play better than Gardner Minshew. I mean, what world would, maybe again, not to say that Geno Smith doesn't have that pumpkin season back in him at some point, chat. Maybe the clock strikes midnight again at some point with Geno Smith, and we're like, oh, there's that guy. And, oh, Vegas, that's the roster, that's the spot, they're cursed. But it would seem a little unlikely at this point that Geno Smith will play worse than Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew did last year. So he's just going to be an upgrade. And they're going to be a competent offense, and they're spending a little bit as well, too. Let's, I guess, since we're on it, chat, see what else the Raiders did. In free agency, okay, we got an old team right now. So they lost Moyrig, yeah, Commanders, I think. Nice little signing there. But bringing in Jeremy Chin instead of Moyrig. So Jeremy Chin at 8.1, and what did the other safety get, chat? Let's do a quick comparison real fast. Oh, what happened to our list? Here we go. Washington. Oh, chat, I'm a fool. I have it sorted backwards. Washington's at the top. 2. Oh, he didn't go to Washington. Where did he go? Oh, back to the old teams, chat. Back to sorting it by old teams. It's just what it is. Bouncing around. Live research, chat. He went to Carolina. So they basically made a safety trade. And Carolina, look, is paying Moyrig $17 million a year. And again, I really like him as a player as well. I'm going to be pro a lot of guys. Welcome to the Rem and Sam pod. Is that a pause, chat? Hey, yo. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm going to be a fan of a lot of guys' games on the field. It's just what it is. But and we're gonna like seeing people get the bag, get the paycheck. We're never not gonna be mad about that. But not a bad player to player contract value move. I do like Chin. They bring back Malcolm Kuntz on the 1-year deal, which I do like from Kuntz's perspective because he played pretty well for him when he was out there, but he was also, I think, a really low draft pick or maybe even undrafted. Let's double check. He was 10 sacks a game in 39 games. But 3rd round pick. Okay, so a little bit of a decent deal for sure. But let's see where the sack numbers here at, chat. 8 sacks last year, yeah. 11 starts. 3 forced fumbles as well. So he gets to have a bit of a mini payday. He absolutely probably could have signed like a 4-year deal for $15 million a year or whatever, something in that range. But he gets to get that money for 1 year. And if he plays at that same sort of level, which, again, that self-confidence that he has, he's probably like, this is at least the player that I am now. So that contract will be out for him there next year. And just with the general inflation of the cap as well, like maybe him 1 for 12 next year or this year is 1 for 13 next. Or I guess I was thinking 1 for 10 when I was thinking like 1 for 15 next year, 1 for 14. Like maybe he just get a little bit of a bump because of the salary cap increase. But if he has another season where he's awesome as well, just as a young player at that point in his career, 2 out of 4 seasons is the last couple of seasons is a double-digit sack guy. I mean, he might be in the range. He could work himself into that $20 million range next year, I think, if he plays really, really well. So I like sometimes, especially in the NFL, if you can get a long-term deal and you can get, guaranteed money at the end of the day is going to be the important thing, whether or not, the contract terms, I guess, are not as important. If you're able to stack it in a couple of seasons, by all means, go for it. But he does have value upside next year if he continues to play well, for sure. Cap of the guard. Okay, I don't know if the Bengals O-line has been, the best, but he's $5 million. What do you do? Landon Roberts, good player for sure. Stokes, been in and out of the lineup in Green Bay, so he'll at least be a rotation guy for the Vegas defensive backfield anyways. And Lonnie Johnson I like as well too. Lonnie Johnson's a guy. I have some stock in Lonnie Johnson. Him and Justin Reed were that Houston defensive secondary. So it's one of those things where it's like the NBA team that wins. Maybe it's like the Hornets right now. Oh, and I forgot, Chad. The broadcast is reminding us I'm a terrible person. We should have memorialized this individual to start the show, but Junior Bridgman passed away, who was, if you guys listen to the NBA Aura rankings that we did a couple of live streams ago, he is or at least was at one point, the richest NBA player, but not necessarily because of his NBA contracts, but because of his business acumen, Chad. Because Junior Bridgman was such a successful businessman that he became the richest NBA player of all of the guys. That's just a stat that you love in a way. You love that kind of hard work and determination can win the day. It's the American dream, chat. And I guess we don't know the full Junior Bridgman. Do we want to look up the full Junior Bridgman story here, real chat? Like maybe he was able to get a little bit of a head start with maybe some investments with but that's just smart business thinking and smart business moves. Again, Ulysses Lee Junior Bridgman. Okay. Junior Bridgman, do they have a entrepreneurial career? During the off seasons of his playing career, Bridgman worked and learned the business model of Wendy's fast food restaurant franchise. So yeah, he wasn't big in the fast food for sure. After retiring from NBA, he invested in franchise and eventually owned over 100 various Wendy's and Chili's restaurants before selling in 2016. In 2016, Forbes ranked Bridgman the 4th wealthiest retired athlete in the world, behind Michael Jordan, David Beckham, Arnold Palmer, with an estimated income of $32 million. And Arnold Palmer's got tea, chat. Arnold Palmer's got a team named after him. I mean, that shows you as well, too. That's why, these guys try to get into business. That's why all these players look up to Jay-Z and, look up to LeBron and stuff, because that's where the real money's at, Chad. I mean, we're seeing it right now. It's in corporate America. It's just what it is. So, shout out. Junior Bridgman was able to tap in. And that's what that's the goal, Chad. No, it's not. Because I guess you think corporate America, I guess there's sides, I guess. It depends on how you define corporate America. Are you thinking just straight the corrupt side of corporate America? Because yes, I guess, obviously you're trying to stay away from that. But if you're thinking just the concept of big business, but then maybe, corruption and big business, they go hand in hand. Who knows, chat? We're not political scientists. We're not ones to say. But estimated income of $32 million for Junior Bridgman, president and CEO of Bridgman Food Inc. 2017, Bridgman became a bottler for the Coca-Cola Company. In 2018, he signed a letter of intent to buy bottling operations in Canada. Junior Bridgman, we should make him president if we want. Shout out, chat. Should have made him president if we wanted to take Canada, because it seems like he was making moves. Seems like he could have maybe struck a deal with Trudeau, got the 51st state in there. But December 2020, Bridgman via Bridgman Sports and Media bought Ebony and the Jet for $14 million after the magazines declared bankruptcy. This man is a hero. Not only was he a legendary basketball player and businessman, but he's a hero for saving Ebony magazine, chat, and Jet magazine as well too, of course. But $14 million after the magazines declared bankruptcy earlier in the year. May 2022. Mana Capital Partners, an investment firm co-funded by Bridgman, announced that the firm had partnered with Ball Corporation to construct and operate integrated secondary aluminum mill in Los Lunas, New Mexico. Bridgman was going to build UFOs, chat? It's what it sounds like. What's the Ball Corporation? Pause. Oh, they're going to build mason lid jars? Nice. Junior Bridgman. Now that's corporate America. The mass manufacturing of boring products. You're either a mob boss or actually a corporate guy. It's one or the other. But Governor Kay Ivey announced that Mana Capital Partners would invest in a bottling facility be located in Hope Hall, Alabama, operated by affiliate Mana Beverages and Ventures. On September 24, 2024, the Bucks announced that Bridgman had purchased a 10% interest in the team, the deal valuing the franchise at $4 billion. According to Bucks co-owner Jimmy Haslam, Bridgman purchased the interest of several minorities at an undisclosed discount from the stated value. Wow, what a move, chat. What a way to go out. Junior Bridgman bought an NBA team. If he didn't have generational wealth already, I mean, what a great way to, lock in a nice little stream of income there versus some of these corporations and businesses where, I mean, you're seeing it with the countries right now, chat. You leave it to some of these people. Sometimes they can just run these things into the ground. An NBA team, I mean, as much as you run it into the ground, will, from maybe a roster standpoint or whatever, the fans will do our best to try to keep it alive. Maybe. They're yelling at us right now for not watching the games, but we're trying, chat. We're trying. We're doing our best. So, just a guy that was making, I mean, you see, chat, every year, Junior Bridgman, he's moving up. He's adding to his game. It's the NBA player mentality, even in business. There are things that cross over in all of these things, in music as well, too. Expanding your flows, expanding the types of production that you're using, expanding your concepts. There are ways to grow yourself as an artist. There are ways to add things to your game as an NBA player. Junior Bridgman, he's adding Canada operations. He's adding magazines. He's adding operating facilities and bottling facilities. He's adding NBA teams. Just every couple of years, Junior Bridgman, just big purchase here, big move here, big addition there. Legendary guy, Chad. Absolutely legendary. I mean, we had an all-time NBA aura from what he's able to accomplish. NBA guys, of course, will always look up to him for that reason. Junior Bridgman is a role model NBA player, chat. A role model NBA player. He's somebody that you want your NBA son to be like Junior Bridgman. His peak season, 1979, 1980, he was 17.6 points a game. And I guess I don't know if we do a little percentage comparison here. The next season, he is 16.8, a little bit higher field goal percentage, 48% in that season versus 47 in the 17-point season. 18% from three. So Junior Bridgman, not an early adapter of the three-point line. But look at this, Chad. I mean, Junior Bridgman had a three-point shot there a little bit by the end. By 1981-82, he's 44%. Granted, he's shooting a three every 5 games. But, he's making up 3 every 6 games. I don't know what the exact math is for that. Can we get a little total chat here? He was 4 for 9 on the season. He was trying, though, and he was making them. And he wasn't overstaying his welcome at the three-point line. Wasn't forcing it. He maybe got a little over-eager next year, 1 for 13. But, those last couple of seasons before maybe by the end, 16%. But 35 and then 33. He's in the 30s by his early 30s by the end there. I mean, that's kind of, I feel like, a good progression for maybe, like if, think of like Brooke Lopez. Like when did Brooke Lopez started shooting an efficient amount from 3? We look at Junior Bridgman, 6'5". So yeah, small. It's like a real wing small forward. I didn't know if we were looking at more, power forward, small forward sort of ordeal. But Junior Bridgman out on the wing. I'm not seeing any like defensive. Let's see. Was there any like defensive player of the year votes maybe? We get like a 2-way thing from Junior Bridgman. From our guy. Don't look at the Hall of Fame probability, chat. That was disrespectful. I'm going to ignore that. At Louisville, 20 a game as a freshman. 13, 16, and 16. And where did he get drafted at as well, too? Is he a first-round pick? Number 8th overall in the 1975 NBA draft. Do we need to redraft the 75 NBA draft? What year is that for this, chat? Can I do math real quick? Is this the 50th anniversary of the 1975 NBA draft? Do we need to do a 50th anniversary redraft at some point? David Thompson's in this draft. Marvin Webster's in this draft. Alvin Adams. Daryl Dawkins also in the Aura rankings, the NBA Aura rankings. Shout out David Thompson, NBA legend. He is an all-time, he's had his moments, but high flyer, crazy highlights, all-time NBA Aura as well too, for sure. But when we made the list, we just, our fallen brethren, we didn't put on the list. Joe Bryant is in this draft. Kobe Bryant's dad, R.I.P. Kobe, is in this draft, chat. Chubby Cox, Joe Bryant's brother-in-law. Shout out to Chubby Cox. 1978 draft. 8th round pick, 159th overall. Yikes. But Joe Jellybean Bryant, lottery pick. Gus Williams. Oh, yeah, Gus Williams was a baller. 14,000 points. For sure. He made a couple of all-star teams, right? Is he on the all-star list here? The all-stars were Alvin Adams, World Be Free, 1975 draft. Lionel Hollins. Is it David Roundfield, David Thompson, and Gus Williams? Who's this Roundfield guy? Daniel Roundfield? Dan Roundfield. Yep. Danny Roundfield. 3 all-stars, 5-time all-defense. 28th overall pick in this year's draft. All-NBA in 79-80. Oh, man, maybe he just edged out Junior Bridgman for that spot, chat. That year, and I guess he did have a defensive thing going for him as well, too. 4 turnovers a game, a block and a half, a steal, 16 points, 10 rebounds. I mean, how much better was Dan Roundfield than Junior Bridgman? Was there an argument? Atlanta, 50-32. Hubie Brown coaching in the 1979-1980 season, winning 50 games. Shout out the legend. Ooh, Dr. Rounds. That is a pretty good nickname. Shout out Dan Roundfield. That's pretty solid. You love to see it. And you love a 2-way guy as well, too. Pause. You love the versatility. But I think Gus Williams was a baller. Was he on maybe some of those Sonics teams? Yeah, there was a Sonics run for him there. So 1970, yeah, he would have been on that team that made the finals for the Sonics, and he would have been second team All NBA that year. They won the finals in 79-80, right? I mean, what's the next year? Maybe it was the year before that, 70, 78, 79? Yeah, the year before that, 78, 79. Shout out Dennis Johnson and Downtown Freddie Brown as well, too. All-time greats. Jack Sikma. I mean, legendary team, coached by Lenny Wilkins, of course. But the Wizard, Gus Williams, was, the guard of that team, chat. I guess that's about the analysis we'll give you for the Gus Williams career. We'll need to go back and rewatch some of those games to really remember what was going on. But I have thrown on in the summer in the past a couple of times. There's a couple of games from that final series on YouTube that I have thrown on. No 3-point line, but again, legendary Seattle team, and then a fun Bullets team that they played that year in the finals. They had, again, this was the year that they lost. Western Conference Final of the Lakers. Tough. What are you going to do? 79-80, so that would have been Magic's rookie season then, I think. So that matchup, I think, is, that's a real changing of the guard there for the Lakers. Not that I guess they were changing of the Lakers to the Sonics, but you think, maybe if the Sonics are going to be a bit more of a contendery team over the next couple of years, but then no, the Lakers just add Magic, and then they take off at a, totally different level, chat. But, we were looking up the Bullets team. Because that was Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes are the two main guys. I think Bob Dandridge as well, too, was on that team. Shout out Bob Dandridge. Yeah, Bob Dandridge. Let's see. Any other? So Wes Unseld. Oh, Unseld, no All-NBAs, no All-Stars that year. He did end up winning Finals MVP, but was not recognized in the regular season. Elvin Hayes was first-team All-NBA at 21-12. Bob Dandridge, 25-4 in the regular season, 5th in MVP voting. Gotta love Bob Dandridge, man. Who was not a fan of Bob Dandridge's game? Chat, DM us at RemingTonm on Instagram with your best Bob Dandridge memories. I think the people that don't have those memories may not be working the DMs that well yet. But if they do, then that's a keeper, chat. But Elvin Hayes, 14 rebounds in the playoffs. Wes Unseld, 10. Do we need to look up those final stats real quick? Just to see? I'm pretty sure Wes Unseld was... Oh, I guess Wes Unseld... What am I thinking, chat? I'm all mixed up tonight. Because Wes Unseld did win a Finals MVP of the one that they won. But yeah, we're focused on the Seattle one. I guess I saw Wes Unseld's name and I just immediately thought Finals MVP. That's always the first think of when we think of Wes Unseld, right? Finals MVP, Wes Unseld. But yeah, again, shout out Dennis Johnson when the Sonics won it. I'm not proving my Dennis Johnson fandom very well because I don't know the year that they won the finals. I forgot that he was the Finals MVP, but we'll still draft him on our all-time team and make up for it. It is what it is. But the year that they lost, Hayes was 20. Dandridge was the leading scorer in the finals. Dandridge, best player in a final series. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason, chat. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. Same draft as Kareem. One of the great draft class of all time. If you're Milwaukee, just two Hall of Famers. Bob Dandridge. Just two guys that could be the best guy in a final series. Is that even a more... It is just a more condensed list than, even Hall of Famer level as well, too. But the year that they... Is this the year that they won? Wes Unseld, 9 points, 11 rebounds? And he was the Finals MVP. I guess, there's a defensive thing, I think, with Wes Unseld as well, too. That was going on. But apparently Dandridge is 20-7 and Hayes is 20-11. Were not enough. Hayes with 2 blocks a game. Unseld with just no blocks a game. 4 assists? Was 4 assists just like crazy for Wes Unseld as center back in that day? What do they have it sorted here by? Is it just point? Oh, it is points. I was going to say, because minutes... third in minutes, they're, relying on their big three. Mitch Kupchak on this team. So I guess Tom Henderson and Kevin Gervey as names have not necessarily lived on the same way. But Henderson, 7th overall pick in the year 74 draft, the year before that we were looking at. And I think is this our last chance to redeem our Dennis Johnson fandom? I think he might be... Ooh, I don't even want to throw it out there now, chat. the he was drafted in the 70s, but maybe it was that 74 draft. It was him and Dantley and Parrish. 76. Oh, 0 for 3. 0 for 3. I know that's the lineup of the 76 draft though. Is watch me go 0 for 4. Yeah, Dantley, Parrish, Dennis Johnson, and Alex English as well too. Alex English, absolute legend. I mean, give me those 4 guys against any draft class ever, Chad. I know, of course, that the 84 draft class of MJ and Barkley and Stockton and who else we got there? Rick Carlisle. That trio of guys. Oh, Hakeem, duh, Chad. We're thinking 3rd pick and below. Hakeem, Jordan, Barkley, and Stockton's gonna wipe the floor probably with any draft class team. But then what do you got? The Kobe, Iverson. Is that Ray Allen also in that class, Chat? Is Stojakovic in that class? Who's all in that class for 96? You got the 96 class as well too, in the mix. But the sneaky, and again, you go like draft class depth. I guess 03 as well. Of course, LeBron, Wade, and Melo, and Bosh. You go like and that's another one where it's a little top heavy. There's not necessarily a depth in that draft. Like, could you have better overall drafts for the league in terms of the top end talent one, but maybe the amount of guys and starter level players and the rotation guys and the talent of the league that just gets injected in general? Maybe. But this is a great, just if you take the top talent out of each draft class, this 76 draft class is making a run. I'm telling you right now. 3 guys over 20,000 points in the 70s. Of course, some great classes in here. But what do we got? 77 the next year. It's going to be Jack Sikma, Magic Johnson, and Cedric Maxwell. Otis Birdsong. So we got Magic Johnson and Irvin Johnson both in the 77 draft. No, who's M. Johnson? Johnson was Marquise Johnson. Okay, now 77 just got a little bit more beatable, chat. Pause. A little bit more. This game got a little bit easier. It's not Magic. Him and Bird were same class. Just, I guess, a little let's brush up on our 70s NBA history corner, chat. It's just what it is. Because Bird... Okay, were they different? Oh, different class, but yeah, different, but maybe same year because Bird stayed a year. They drafted the rights to Bird. And then, yeah, Magic's 79 draft. So 79 draft, I mean, Magic, of course, it's going to make it a good draft. Magic is going to take any 4 other guys and be a feisty force in the tournament. But Magic and Lambeer is a crazy combination. You've got the most, likable on-court personality of all time in Magic versus the most dislikable, on-court personality of all time, Bill Lambeer. So maybe if Magic can make Bill Lambeer likable and, an all-NBA guy, then in this an all-tournament level player in this bracket, then maybe that'll be Magic Johnson's greatest accomplishment. But Sidney Moncrief as a 3rd on there as well too is, and then again you get Magic, you put Mark Eaton next to Magic, and Mark Eaton just gets a lot better as well. Mark Eaton up against Roger Parris in the actual matchup is a little difficult, but Mark Eaton was a good defender, and his ability, I know Celtics fans are probably going to get mad. I'm not saying Mark Eaton can hang with Parrish. Parrish was going to have his moments. I'm just saying, could he make him work a little bit? And now all of a sudden Magic, of course, in the backcourt with as good as we love, I guess, but Dennis Johnson's going to make Magic work as well too. Pause. So I'm saying that 76 draft class, because of Dennis Johnson's defensive versatility, you have the scoring of English and Dantley, and then Parrish as well too. This is a great force in the middle. Is gonna just round out that team, and you got guys at every spot as well too. You've got the center, you've got the wings, you've got the guard, and Dennis Johnson, Larry Bird, Maurice Cheeks, Reggie Theus, Michael Thompson. Shout out to Larry Bird, man. Of course, he's legendary. He's probably going to win a couple of games in this tournament that he's not supposed to, but I don't know if his supporting cast is not the strong. I mean, Reggie Theus next to Larry Bird. Did Reggie Theus ever have a Celtics run in there? I don't know. He feels like if he had just crossed paths, maybe. No, Chicago, Sacramento, New York. Hitting some pretty basic spots. But there's an all-star running there. A 20-point-a-game scorer. So Reggie Theus next to Larry Bird. Maybe, again, Larry Bird is able to get the best out of Reggie Theus. You do have... Wait, was Cheeks in this draft? Pause! Mo Cheeks was in this draft. So you've got a good backcourt guy as well, too, in Mo Cheeks. Larry Bird, Purvis Short, Michael Thompson. It's not a bad team. Michael Ray Richardson, like maybe, maybe he's able to get Michael Ray Richardson the best basketball out of him as well too. Who knows? Former 4th overall pick, 4-time All-Star. There's a run in here as well, like we're saying. And, a lot of the 70s and 80s guys, maybe. Yeah, the league was just in a different headspace, literally, at that time. But different drugs, maybe a little more harsher on the athletes. But I guess a peak Michael Ray Richardson and a peak Reggie Theus next to Larry Bird with Mo Cheeks and Michael Thompson. That's a feisty team. That team's doing work. Bird, Magic, of course, was able to get him at Indiana State being a little bit of a weaker team. But maybe I can't speak to the Indiana State, Michigan State matchup exactly as well, too. Yeah, 77, probably first round, getting bounced. 75, the one we were looking at with Thompson and Bridgman and Joe Bryant. I mean, I think Bridgman is able to elevate his game in this tournament, chat. I think Bridgman's the sleeper MVP. What are the junior Bridgman tournament MVP odds? Like 100 to 1. We're betting them all. It doesn't matter the career stats or whatever. This is a fun team as well. Like, there's a lot of talent in these 70s drafts. Again, I think maybe a lot of it was, guys reaching their potential. Junior Bridgman was a full-on, I think probably reached his potential type guy. But, again, he exceeded it off the court as well, too. So it all worked out for him. I guess is the point. One of the points of reaching your potential in the NBA is to get rewarded for it. So I guess, eventually Junior Bridgman got the reward for being in the NBA. But you get Gus Williams, World Be Free, Junior Bridgman, Dan Ralphfield, David Thompson, Daryl Dawkins. It's an athletic team. This team is flying around for sure. And you got some two-way versatility here. It's not going to be a fun team to play. They maybe really wear the team out, and then the team that they lose to then loses in the next game because, they exerted so much on the 75 draft. But again, maybe the 75 team could also be like a feisty make-a-run team. Yeah, then you get into these drafts where you get like the top 20 guy in all-time history. It's like, okay, well, they have Bill Walton now. You get Bill Walton and George Gervin in the same draft class. That's a crazy combo, Chad. And then Wilkes. Wilkes is a Hall of Famer, too. Jamal Wilkes. With the crazy jump shot, chat. UCLA. I know 4-time NBA champ. Of course, with his run with the Lakers a little bit later on. And did he win a ring at Golden State, though? He did win. Yeah, he won with Rick Barry on that team. So he gets that. Like, those are fun guys. Like Jamal Wilkes and Bob Dandridge. Guys from the 70s that are underrated that had that effect of, being an all-star level guy in their career, but also on multiple teams that won titles. Like, as much as we talk about player movement now, is there a Jamal Wilkes? Maybe there is, obvious answers that I'm probably just blanking on right off the top of the head, chat. Pause. But I'm just thinking of the teams that have won titles recently as well, too. And like we have talked about, it does take time and chemistry to assemble some units like that. So you think the Nuggets have been together for a couple, the Celtics were together for a bunch of years. Of course, the Nuggets core was together for a bunch of years. The Miami Heat team was together for some time. Bam and Jimmy Butler logged a bunch of games together. That team definitely had, and stacked the playoff minutes on top of that as well, too. Like, that team definitely had some time spent on the court. Golden State, of course, built from the ground up. And then, I guess Toronto would be kind of one thrown in there that, I guess Kawhi, of course, is the exception to that rule. And I guess that's why Kawhi's greatness really stands out as well, too, is because he had these really, like, comet-like seasons at times. And, of course, the Finals MVP season wasn't his best season in San Antonio, but he did have those same statistical level seasons that he did in Toronto, and then again also had the Finals MVP in San Antonio, and then just was able to combine them both in Toronto eventually. But I don't know. I can't, like, and I'm trying to think even maybe like 2000s. Like, is Ray Allen a little too good? I guess maybe Ray Allen's a good comp, but Ray Allen didn't win. He did win 5 because he won finals for I'm blocking out the Ray Allen finals win from the Heat in my mind, but he almost made the finals in that Milwaukee run when they lost to Philly. in Allen Iverson. But one in Boston as, then again, is he a role guy? But Wilkes was kind of bordering on, he could be a number 2, number 3 type guy, I think, in that mix. Especially, his earlier years there in Golden State, especially. But unfortunately, we're not bringing these guys up as much as we are Kendrick Lamar and LeBron James, and maybe they need to be at the top of mind at some point. But going back, remembering, the Jamal Wilkes, Bob Dandridge, like, you gotta love those. You gotta love those type of careers, chat, where it's just proven that they're impactful. And he won in college as well too. And make no mistake, like, Wilkes played with a lot of great players. He played with Rick Barry, played with those Lakers legends, played with I forget how he lined up in the UCLA timeline of things. I guess 74 draft. We're idiots, chat. He played with Bill Walton in the UCLA because UCLA was in the same draft class. So play with Walton as well too. Maybe the greatest college basketball player ever. But regardless, he was able to find his way to impact these champion teams wherever he goes. So you get those 3 guys, and then is this Bobby Jones? Legendary benchman Bobby Jones? Yeah, another Hall of Famer. Secretary of Defense. Whoa! Would we rather have Bobby Jones than Hegseth? I don't know, but that's a great nickname. Secretary of Defense. I mean, it perfectly describes, like, I don't even need to know. Like, I know Bobby Jones is a player now as well, too. Like, great defensive player. But, it's an actual term. So it's an actual title that you can call him that makes sense. 73 class. Kermit Washington in the 73 class? I can see Kermit Washington having a couple of good games in this tournament. Made one all-star team there. Was that early on? What did he do? 13-10? Yeah, you never know. Kermit Washington can put the pieces together. Why? Oh, that's because Kermit Washington punched Rudy Tomjanovich. That's why we're remembering his name. We also looked that up on the Aura rankings recently because Rudy Tomjanovich didn't make the Aura rankings, but Kermit Washington didn't make the Aura rankings for punching Rudy Tomjanovich, but Rudy Tomjanovich did make the Aura rankings for, one, handling the event like a man, but he also was able to coach that Rockets team with Hakeem to a couple of titles, so he did have his impact on the league as well too. And again, you can look at all these draft classes and go, the peak versions of any of these guys could be great. And as much as we talk about the talent in the league now, and it is true, and again, maybe this was just the era of what the 70s was, but you look back at the top of the classes of some of the guys that didn't work out, and you go, oh man, like, there was talent there. And maybe it's because they didn't work out in a different type of way. Again, like, the careers fizzled out for various reasons, to say the least. Versus now when we miss on a guy, a guy might have his own unfortunate, issues that maybe cause his career to fail out. But it seems like if a draft pick doesn't give you that success that you would hope for, it's because it was a misevaluation. And maybe that's probably not the most appropriate way to phrase it. But, it just seems like it just seems like the players just are bad when they just get picked that high and don't play well. Versus, again, like Michael Ray Richardson, maybe, a guy, he does a couple too many lines. It's like, what kind of lines do we want? We want free throw lines, not the other type of lines. But, Bob McAdoo on this 72 team, as much as I love McAdoo, ooh, Julius Erving? Does he count? When was he taken? Because I think this would have been like 12th? Wait. Because I remember now he was taken by a team but then didn't go. And then got drafted. Did he get traded again? Maybe they traded his rights. Were the Bucks so foolish to trade his rights, chat? Or how did that all work out? Let's see. This is just a big old history corner, chat. Sorry, I guess we'll wrap this up here quick. We didn't mean... Is that free agency news for the NFL? Yikes. It is what it is. It just turned into a 70s NBA history corner. But, signed... That's not going to have his drafted listed in here, but... Signed with... Chad does right there. Traded by Virginia. So he just signed... They just drafted his rights, yeah, and I guess... Players' rights sold by Nets to the Sixers after being traded by the Squires to the Nets. So the Bucks shot their shot with Dr. J, and unfortunately he turned him down. It is what it is. But you got to respect it. And again, in the sneaky random scenario that AI got good enough that we can do an all-time drafting tournament, now all of a sudden you have Dr. J and I was almost going to say Ralph Sampson, but Ralph Simpson. So close, Chad. So close. But you get Bob McAdoo, Julius Erving, and LaRue Martin all in the same team. Shout out LaRue Martin. 1,400 career points. Paul Westphal and is this the OG Kevin Porter? Maybe. There's no senior here. Henry Bibby as well. Steve Hawes. Maybe he's related to Spencer Hawes. He is, nephew. Whoa. The Hawes family. Who knew their NBA roots ran so deep, chat? Who knew the Hawes family has such rich basketball legacy? But anyways, I guess there's a 70s basketball drafting corner. But shout out to Junior Bridgman. R.I.P. to the legend. Again, one of the great, of course, businessmen, one of the great basketball player personality minds that has ever appeared in the NBA game. So, got to pay respects, got to tip the cap to the legendary. And I guess I didn't see a cause or anything like that, but, you know, it is what it is, chat. You just send your best wishes to the family and remember the great life that was Junior Bridgman. But, some fourth quarter action starting to heat up here, chat, for Pacers Bucks. We still got a little free agency to dive into, and I can't believe we've already just rambled this long without even mentioning the fact that this week is the 30th anniversary of one of the classic albums in hip-hop history from one of the classic artists of all time, Tupac, Me Against the World. I believe the actual date is this Friday, the 14th, so we could have saved the album react for Friday, but Friday is going to be pretty busy. We've got, you know, the start of March Madness heating up with not the actual March Madness tournament, but the conference tournaments will be in various stages there. Of course, you know, NBA, some other, you know, various culture things going on Friday as well too. Some rumors of some other albums maybe dropping Friday. We'll just have to see. But the 30th anniversary of Me Against the World by Tupac dropped again, I believe March 14th. But definitely, you know, this week in March of 1995. So we got to memorialize that album as well too. One of, not just again the great albums ever, but one of the, you know, my personal favorite re-listens as well too. So there's just no way that this album's going to have a milestone anniversary like this, and we're not going to take a second to mention this all-time project. So let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll actually get to the main event of the evening, chat, remembering the legendary Tupac and the legendary Me Against the World album right after this. Okay, we are back. Testing 1, 2, 3. We are good to go. And happy anniversary once again to Tupac Shakur. Rest in peace to the legend. Me Against the World. 30th anniversary on yes, March 14th. Okay, officially, which is this Friday. And again, we will be live this Friday as well too. So, and we will probably be bumping this album again Friday. This week is just Tupac. I guess, you know, it's always just Tupac time to be having Tupac in the rotation, but you know, all the other like Tupac type things as well too. Like, you know, just for Kendrick, the Kendrick song that we've been really playing a lot recently has been reincarnated. And of course, like we've been saying, we've been bumping GNX a ton. So you could say that song is the best song off of GNX. It would make sense that song, if we're bumping GNX, is just going to be in the rotation a ton. But again, with I was going to say Tupac inspiration, but literally, you know, sampling Tupac as well on the beat, just trying to keep everything like, you know, Tupac vibes, Me Against the World, 30th anniversary. We're feeling good. We're feeling great about this album. And, of course, when this dropped as well, too, put him onto a different level, not just, you know, the commercial success of this album. This is a major commercial album, again, in the all-time rankings as well. Obviously, you know, All Eyes on Me, I believe, is still the more successful album in terms of total sales all time. I think that is, you know, one of the better selling hip hop albums of all time as well too. But I think Me Against the World is right there. See, I want to say that this is like, I want to get bold and say this is like a 10. You know, it's tough to say how they count copies and stuff as well too sold. But is this like a 10 millioner? Maybe. I want to say this might be up there. Because, again, we all know Pac's legendary status as well, too. Like, his discography is just one of the higher selling discographies in general. So, you know, it's because of those two albums. And because Me Against the World is also, you know, a double album as well, too. So I know the sales for that one get counted twice, but I guess its certification should be on here up to date, I'd imagine. So the sales for that one get counted twice, but this one's a single, so you know it did all its work on its own. Chat. This is Dirk in the 2011 finals, all of its wins by time. Okay, see, 2 times platinum right now. That's what I thought I had seen that on here before, but then I thought I had saw in another like most sold hip hop albums of all time ranking. I thought it was in there. Let's check real fast. Should we have done the research beforehand, chat? Probably, but it's all good. I think it's pretty close. It should be, if it's not in the top 25, you know, it's not hitting those numbers then, because I don't think there have been 25 10 million unit album hip hop albums, but maybe they haven't. Yeah, Ready to Die. Okay, 6 million, 8 Mile. It's gonna be a dramatic reveal, chat. Where's Me Against the World? Oh, it can't even handle it. Computer can't handle all the information. Pause. Take care. Views. Dr. Dre. Shout out Akon, The Massacre. At 6 million sold. People, are they still buying The Massacre? Oh no, Puffy. Nelly. Oh, we're going the wrong way, chat. Yikes. I would try to scroll back up because I thought I was gonna scroll past the Nelly album and I wanted to hit see the Nelly album again. Yeah, there we go. It's not working. 7 million for Nelly. Shout out the Fugees, of course. Lauryn Hill as well. One of the, just based on those 2 albums, she's one of the best-selling hip-hop artists of all time. Of course, Eminem. Big Willie Style. Pause! You forget about Big Willie Style, chat, when you talk about the best hip-hop albums of all time. But 9 million units sold? I mean, it's as many units sold as Get Rich Die Trying, so I guess it's just, what do you prefer? Who had better bars, Will Smith or 50 Cent? Is it the Dr. Dre production that separates it, or is DJ Jazzy Jeff produce this one as well, too? You would assume it'd be Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff, right? If it was both of them, but maybe not. Country Grammar? Miseducation? Okay. Me Against the World, chat. Unfortunately, we might not be getting it. That certificate, Wikipedia, might actually be right for once. Maybe I'm just thinking of the Greatest Hits album at 10 mil for Tupac. Because, again, I know it's like the same song. So on Spotify, like if you stream California Love, I think it might count for the same regardless, but there is different versions of it as well too, so that might not be the best example. But there are like songs on compilation album, like singles and stuff. It's all the same streaming numbers. But if you sell, why is this article Business Insider? Chill out on your memory for your page or whatever, or probably us running a live stream on YouTube. But Outkast, and then of course Eminem is going to be at the top of all these lists. Yeah, so Me Against the World, I guess, is not in those hip-hop numbers. But that's, again, what I was thinking for Tupac specifically was how he was able to get the... Oh, I forgot I didn't have that. Oh, shout out, chat. I thought I had that list up on the screen so you could see it, but I didn't have the page scrolled over. But yeah, I guess the albums that I read off were in reverse order, of course, from 25 to 1. But he had for Tupac, he had his All Eyes on Me album on there at 10 mil and then the greatest hits. But again, for going for the streams, it might all count for the same. But for now, like if you physically sell a unit of a greatest hits compilation, that is money in your pocket. And if you also sell your Eyes on Me, that's money in your pocket. So, the streaming thing, the artist thing, obviously is, getting that pay scale correct is a whole different conversation. But regardless, the iconic status of this album is still reflected in the fact that it's still sold millions of units regardless. It's still in the level like of, and for the hip-hop genre in general as well too, like, and I guess I was going to compare it to some of the more modern stuff, but then there's some time spent there as well where those are obviously newer albums. But regardless, sales obviously don't need to be in the conversation for the quality of the album, because you even go back and look at the quality of the album. Like, you talk about instant classic, and I think, of course, Tupac, and there's always going to be people in the moment that are going to be counter-called. I mean, we have moments in time. I mean, we're on tape with the Davis trade, not defending the Davis trade, but just really in the moment being being like, hey, Anthony Davis is a great player. You could do stuff. Pause. You could still build a great team around Anthony Davis, and then he did get hurt, Chad. So as much as we love Davis as a player, the durability is a factor, and we have to take the L because he got hurt. Not that we're saying that they were gonna win the title. It's just like, hey, like this team can still be something with Davis. So it's like, yeah, maybe of course it still can, but you also need Davis on the court, and he's not there right now. And Kyrie gets hurt as well too. Is not another thing that you can necessarily predict, but it did happen. It's unfortunate, but of course, Tupac's legendary status has maybe solidified this album as sort of a 10 out of 10 sort of thing, but in the moment, you go back and look at all the reviews and the critical I mean, the consensus in the moment, of course, is that this is his best project. And you also see that countered with the fact that, he's rising as a star. He's doing movies at the point, quote, 95. He's already been in Juice is 92, right? And is Above the Rim 94? Should I remember to actually switch the page real fast? Okay, boom, here we go. Let's look Above the Rim. Because... when was maybe Poetic Justice was, yeah, Above the Rim was 94, and then Poetic Justice, the film, was 93. Okay, so yeah, and then I guess we can just fact check Juice real quick, but I believe 92 for Juice. So yeah, he's in Juice, Poetic Justice, and then what was it, Above the Rim, and just back to back years. So his popularity, his notoriety, of course, has really risen at this point. And unfortunately, that is a thing that we just don't have anymore, is and I guess I shouldn't say we don't have it, because we do have it. We have guys like I know Freddie Gibbs was literally talking on this last album about being like, he has a song like literally called On Set, and he's doing acting. Our guy Joey is, of course, pursued an acting career as well too, and maybe there's like cameos. Kendrick's doing some of the voice stuff. And I don't know I don't know if the South Park movie that he's going to drop in the summer is going to be a live action or an animated. I guess I haven't seen for that either. Maybe animated. I guess it would feel like Kendrick getting into the voice work would make more sense. Kendrick acting, I mean, I could totally see it, but also, especially with the South Park guys as well too. Something inside of that would really make sense for him to do the animated route and just go the voiceover mode, and then that way, the movie, maybe the quality then can be relied on other things. It's in the script, it's in the writing, it's in the story, it's in the plot, it's in all these various other factors. But in terms of our mainstream guys, and Pac, of course, again, his acting career really took a step, or really, I'm not the Pac historian, just more the music fan. But I would imagine that notoriety, making these hit movies, would help with the commercial success and people gravitating toward your music career as well. But back to the web chat. I do believe that the album before this as well too. I think Strictly did drop number 1 on the Billboard charts. But we can only search this up so much, chat. Okay, actually, we'll go Me Against the World, and then we'll go backwards. How about that? Oh, Thug Life Volume 1, of course, too, another classic, 94. But for his own just solo discography. This one would have debuted at... Oh, okay, so this one... Oh, debuted at number 24 on the Billboard, but number 4 on the U.S. hip-hop charts. Okay. And music, the numbers were different now. 38K maybe is just number 4 Billboard in general in a week, just a random week right now. But then, music's coming back a little bit. Numbers are going up for sure. So he did definitely make the climb for sure. In 93, Poetic Justice, he would have done Juice by that point as well too. So he also gets the, he's always, I guess I can't speak to like how controversial he was before this necessarily, but just with the political messaging in his music, even early on with, maybe he focuses a little bit more on his later projects, but it's still there in his earlier projects. And I imagine that, again, that maybe he's going to resonate with people in a certain way. Maybe he's going to create some conversation just based on that. But he also, of course, now is starting to get into some, off the booth, off the field sort of. There's some controversy. The legal issues are starting to take, those are starting to happen around the time Against Me Against the World. And, of course, that is a big focal point of the album. And, I guess it's just prison albums are the theme of the week, chat, because we got Tory Lane's album React on Sunday, and then Me Against the World this week as well, too. Maybe Tory was dropping it this week on purpose, or I guess he dropped it technically last week. We reacted to it this week, but he dropped it last Friday. But, I'm sure that helps with the conversation, the name value portion of it as well. But, again, like with Tory, it also helped him focus his vision for the project. And with Pac, with this one, that was, of course, a big talking point in the moment when you go back and look at people in the moment talking about the reviews, is there is a lyrical focus and a conceptual focus to this album that is just a little bit more present than his other previous ones. And I think that maybe just in general too, like a looser album is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Like, it's like a athlete, chat. It's like an NBA player, Is every guy going to be a max contract, end of the shot clock, in a big moment? Is every guy going to be Luka, Tatum, Shea? Like, no, of course. Like, you need, if you're the Celtics, you need Tatum and you need Brown. You also need Derek White and Drew Holiday and Al Horford to step up in a Saturday night game against the Lakers, just play great defense. You also need these role, like, yes, you need, of course, every album to be as good as possible. You want everybody to be as good of a player as possible, but there are going to be some albums in your rotation that are going to be Nikola Jokic's. And, this album is like a, Nikola Jokic, Giannis album, but maybe his earlier albums, maybe that's more of like a 3-and-D wing. There's some great rotational songs on there. It's a fun just listen to go through, but maybe, again, some of the conceptual, some of the through line fluidity type stuff of just what you're getting from a full project standpoint is not totally there. But he really nailed it down with this one. And it does it's not just the lyrical themes as well, too. There is a sonic cohesion throughout this album as well that just, it all fits together really perfect, where as a full project, this really does give you that full project vibe. That's just a great, just full re-listen. And I've been thinking a lot about him as well, too, compared to Kendrick, of course, because of, how Kendrick's legacy has ascended as of late. But Pac is one of those guys where he's in the mix, of course, for the greatest of, like, you're going to make a GOAT list, you're going to put Pac on it. And maybe, again, from a replay value standpoint, from a fandom value standpoint, he could be number one on your list. But if you're, like, talking to the hip-hop heads and people, what are the number one, who's the best rapper of all time? Like, Pac is probably not going to be the number one guy of all time, but Kendrick is in a place now where he is really gunning for that spot, and maybe he's already there. Who knows if we actually had the full conversation? I mean, of course we're biased Kendrick guys. I'm sure it's not a long conversation to talk us into that, but maybe with his discography, 6 albums in, who knows if he's been able to do enough at this point. But if we were doing like a player comparison with the comparison that he is of course in that Tupac mold, and it is one of those things where, okay, maybe of course Kendrick, doing it better with more consistency, of more stacked discography, however you want to put it, then yeah, I get all those points as well too for a separating factor for why he might be, a couple spots, he might be number 1, number 2, and Pac might be number 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. And like the Billboard list a couple years ago that Kendrick mentioned in the song that in the America Has a Problem remix that he did with Beyonce, and that was even, pre-beef, all that stuff. They already, and was Mr. Morale even out at that point? I guess it probably was, because that was him back out on the scene again as well too. So, and that remix was 2023. So Mr. Morale was out by the time that remix had dropped, but I'm assuming that the list had dropped by Mr. Morale. So, we didn't have GNX at this point. We didn't have the beef. We didn't have him ascending on the streaming level in the same way that he is now. And they still already had him number 2 behind Jay-Z at that point. So it's like, okay, he's still already above a guy like Pac. But again, it's still like the same kind of mold. And it really got me thinking about like the MJ Kobe comparison. And it does feel a little bit like almost is this a pause? I don't know if this is a move that we have to look up and just we can't say this term anymore, but it does feel like a reverse MJ Kobe in a way where, MJ was, the one that, and, if we looked at the timeline of like the score first guard, like the mold that MJ came in, like again, make Pac, the politically minded, I'm sure, of course, like public, like there's other people doing that type of thing as well too, but maybe in a solo way, of course, again, maybe not to full time, but in a mainstream way, not to say that these other guys weren't having commercial success as well too, but just in the more modern recent sense as well, just the more direct line, he'd be the more recent example of it. Of course there are guys that MJ would be in the mold of, maybe that played before MJ, but MJ of course is the peak guy of that, and Kobe was the guy that followed MJ, that mimicked the things that MJ was doing. And there are moments where Kobe, you could say, like, did he do it better than MJ? Of course, the career that he had with his, RIP, as awesome as it is, we would still probably put MJ on the all-time career standings over Kobe Bryant at this point. But, if in certain moments and watching certain games and just in clutch spots on, like, literally if we're just playing basketball, like, Kobe could be MJ if you needed him to be. And that's, of course, what was super special about Kobe Bryant. But again, it's like MJ was of at least in the comparison of these two guys, MJ was the original and Kobe was the guy that came, quote unquote, pause, hey, yo, Chad. Kobe was the guy that followed after him. But in this case, like we're saying, Pac is sort of the Kobe from the legacy standpoint, where it's like if MJ was playing now, if Kendrick is doing the things that Pac is doing, but just on a better level. And he's doing it with, of course, the MJ efficiency as well, too, where Kendrick is kind of like 6 for 6 with his albums. I guess, from a real like mainstream success way, like 5 for 5, I guess, Section 80 didn't have, of course, the commercial numbers that the other ones have ultimately gained. But in terms of an album quality, like it's a, classic album, and probably a better album than either of Pac's first 2 albums as well too. I don't know if that's a hot take, chat, but I feel like Section 80 is. Maybe we'd have to go back and look at some of those year-end like 2011 lists. Of course, that's the year that, in the Drake Kendrick timeline, that's the year that Take Care drops. So that's when Drake really emerges onto the scene in a big way. And I imagine, and Watch the Thrones is that year as well too. And where Kendrick and Jay-Z or Kanye and Jay-Z are at in their careers. Like maybe there's other notoriety guys that you would in the moment, just their moments of it all, you would put it above it now. But like, I don't know if this is a hot take as well too. Like from an album quality standpoint, is Section 80 that much worse than Watch the Thrones? I mean, again, that's tough, Chad, because Watch the Thrones, I mean, has some of the great high points. Well, Otis and In Paris, Chad, it's got some of the great high point album rap sample flips of all time. but as a consistent project, I mean, Watch the Thrones is going to be a better album at the end of the day. And again, with the moment that it had, I'm just, from a replay value standpoint, I'm just getting caught up in the Kendrick hype chat. It is what it is. I just like going back to Section 80. But again, he's kind of the MJ after the Kobe. So I guess what would be is there like a Celtics guard, a Lakers guard beforehand, chat? Like, I don't feel like he's in the model of a Jerry West, you know? And not for obvious reasons that you might think. Maybe Jerry West was a different type of, not that Jerry West wasn't a score first guy that couldn't give you 30 a night for sure, but he was a little bit more point guardy. Oh, at the buzzer, chat. Not at the buzzer. 3 seconds left. Halliburton in the corner. You forgot we're watching Bucks Pacers in the background right now. 3 seconds left. Halliburton drains a three. Is he going to tie the game at 114? In front of the Indiana crowd. Is Caitlin Clark on hand, chat? She front row. I feel like we would have gotten a couple of Caitlin Clark cutaways if she had been at the game at this point. But that was kind of, again, me hashing out that GOAT conversation with Pac in my mind. Because I was like, well, why, can we actually have him over Kendrick in a legacy ranking or over some of these guys in a legacy ranking at some point? And if that was, and maybe the MJ Kobe comparison isn't exactly the right one, but in that way where you go, okay, yeah, I guess, they're probably, as much as I would love Kobe, and again, as much as it's like a on the court situation, we're picking teams, the guy that picked before us got MJ, it's like, well, maybe I can, or maybe even I have the first pick, maybe I can get sneaky, and who knows how, big this league is. If it's a two-man league, maybe I can get sneaky and be like, hey, I'll let you have MJ because I'm taking Kobe. I'm going to build my team in a certain way. It'd be a swing, chat. It'd be a swing, of course, but you could get away with it because of the level that Kobe played. Like, if you need one album, like, could Pac give you an album? Like we were saying with our hypothetical, the aliens need a movie. Like, if the aliens need an album and Pac needs to give you the album, like, we're feeling almost as confident in that as we are with Kendrick, but again, with the, it's not an Iguodala to Steph thing. If our choices in the alien death beam shot are Steph and Kobe, it's like, okay, we really picked the best that America, and again, RIP, like, obviously, the aliens would have had to show up a little bit sooner then, but, we've really sent, like, the best that America could provide at that point. So, it really becomes like of course, comparing greatness. It's not the same sort of thing, but it's like, oh, it was, it's like, okay, we can be at peace with the fact that, he can still maybe even fight for like a Mount Rushmore spot, because maybe, if we're comparing him to MJ Kobe, like maybe him and Big are sort of the Magic Bird almost of hip hop. And again, I don't, the timeline of it all, like how do you want to define it breaking into the mainstream? Like, are Cube and Dr. Dre with NWA are they the Bird and Magic? And then, that kind of lines up Pac with being, more of a MJ Kobe with like a 90s career as well too, with, again, NWA sort of being a little bit mid to late 80s with some of the stuff that they were doing. But again, like, he is the blueprint for what, of course, Kendrick has been able to accomplish. And with all the, of course, the messaging and the ability to be able to sort of promote something greater like that in your music. And again, to be able to provide it on an album like that sounds cohesively as this one does, like, that's when, of course, that's the ingredients for a classic album, chat. That is when you really are talking about these transcendent projects that mean something greater. Because, I mean, that's why you go back to these, and it's like we're saying, we can go back to the fun albums to have fun, but you throw in an album like Me Against the World to, not to feel something, but, this is like, it gets those emotions. And maybe it's just like this album for me, it's not like an album where it's like, oh, maybe it has been an album where it's like, you're feeling bad, you need to listen to music, and, it's there for you in all the moments of life, of course, chat. But even if it's just simple as like, I just need to cozy up and listen to some music, like, this is an album that is, of course, just that it can be a cozy album, it can be a lift up album, it can be an emotional album. He's got, it doesn't have necessarily like the oxy club bangers the way he goes as aggressively on All Eyes on Me, but you do get a variety of, and the passion is there, the same sort of passion. And again, the passion is sort of like, it's in a different way in All Eyes on Me, where now the beef is fully on versus him and Big, and it's fully him versus the West Coast. Again, like, this is Me Against the World. Like, this is still Pac a little bit in his I don't know how like the West Coast timeline has all like worked up into this. Like again, like he still met the studio recordings, and I believe that like was that a New York event as well too, chat. So again, I don't know like where he's running around at this time as well too, but the way he leans into all that stuff, all eyes on me. Like of course he's just more aggressive and in your face, and it's just like a more brash performance. But there is of course, like a passion and a crying out in this one where, and like we were reading in some of the reviews as well too, they were really complimenting like the vulnerability that he's able to get into on this album, because you get tracks like, of course, Dear Mama, which is the icon, maybe the most iconic track from this album, and just one of the great, honestly, just one of the great hip hop songs of all time. And again, once you start factoring in the meanings, chat, like who's not gonna put Dear Mama one? Like if this song is about your mama, like I guess hopefully everybody's got a great relationship with their mom, but how you not ranking a song about your mom number one? Like you're telling me, okay, we gotta put Ambitions as a writer over a song about our mom? Sorry, mom, it's just what it is. Like okay, like maybe the rankings have to get really tough in some ways, but again, this is like one of the more iconic, great messaging songs of all time, and he's able to there's still a sweetness to him on this album and he does of course get into it as well too on All Eyes on Me, but doesn't have quite the aggressive performances that he does on that one. And some of like Can You Get Away, where he's really in like his melodic bag as well too, but then of course more vulnerable with some of the feelings where you get into the All Eyes on Me, and he's really, it's not even the East Coast West Coast thing as well too, but maybe sort of and not that of course he hadn't done Thug Life Volume 1 like we were saying in 94, but just the persona at which he's approaching it from, where he's still, and I guess he's still street life in all this one as well too, but maybe he's just not as apologetic about it in All Eyes on Me as well, chat. But again, you get that's just like a sweet side of Tupac that is exposed in some of these albums. And of course the career and the timeline, like what would have happened, not just even with Pac and Big in their careers, like individually but together, like the whole scope of it, chat, like what would have happened with their careers, of course, if they had continued. But I'm sure that he's going to continue to experiment with his artistic types of albums, because like we're saying, of course he goes in these different spots in All Eyes on Me, but it's great. Like that's an album that you could even say in the legacy rankings, for the high points of that album, maybe and for of course, the commercial success of it as well too, in the way that's just able to, that album has even lasted in the culture, maybe even, in a more prominent way than this one has. Like maybe that in the legacy rankings, you rank that higher than this album. And I, again, would totally get it. And maybe there's days that I would even make the case for it myself. But he had that Kendrick thing a little bit, where one of the great things about Kendrick is you get, with all of these projects, these different settings, these different sounds, these different vibes, is just a great, even though his discography, again, is only 6 albums at this point, because all of his songs are so great, there's not a ton of skips. There's not like really any skips in his discography. And it's just a really like nice, versatile, different sounding. There's different moods, all kinds of different emotions you can tap into with the Kendrick catalog. And you can get there too, like you can see with what Tupac was going for with some of the early stuff, and how those early albums or those later albums would have continued to evolve sonically. Of course, would have just been awesome to see. And when Kendrick was doing the Super Bowl as well too, I don't know if I said this when the Super Bowl happened, but I was thinking about this with Pac and Big, and when, of course, going back and rewatching because when I was going back and rewatching some of the recent Super Bowl performances, of course, Dr. Dre in his Super Bowl performance has a moment where on the piano he plays the intro part for I Ain't Mad at Ya, and it's great. I listened to that song for like 3 weeks straight after that. I mean, it's just of course, like we're saying, that album's great as well too, but just one of the great songs off that album. But it's like, oh man, not only would have Pac have been on that stage in that West Coast moment there, but Pac might have been actually, and I'm sure this point was made in the moment as well too, of that Super Bowl halftime, but he might have actually been able to perform in the Super Bowl himself, just by the course of how his career was able to go. Because like you were saying, you see how the success was able to continue to just be unlocked for him, and how it was just this exponential growth for what he was able to achieve. And even, again, the rise that he's able to get from Me Against the World to All Eyes on Me, where this is a #1 album. I think this album's like 600K, first week. Like, again, massive success. Maybe this album was number 2. One of the albums he dropped with like right by a Fugees album. I think it would have been, maybe it was All Eyes on Me. But because I guess this one got nominated for the Grammys as well. So it would have been the album that it got blocked as a number 1 from the Grammys, and then also on the Billboard chart as well too. But let me see. Maybe this was a number 2. Okay, 240 first week. I gassed up the numbers, chat. I have no memory. It is what it is. But let me see. Maybe All Eyes on Me. Is this a hot take? It debuted at number 2. Or maybe the Fugees debuted at number 2, but one of those albums was same release date, going toe to toe. So if it was 95, chat, and I'm an idiot, then we should be doing the Fugees anniversary as well too. But commercial performance, I'm an idiot. Debuted at number 1. Okay, yeah, this one was 500,000 first week. So let me see. Maybe, yeah, Fugees was number 2 then maybe. Or does it not have the numbers? Maybe that's what it is. What's that? The score, chat. You got me. I didn't want to spell Fugees. 2 E's. It couldn't get me on the Fuge, chat. Pause. Let's see. Does it have the list on here? Billboard chart for 8 weeks. So February 13th, 96. February 13th, 96. Maybe we need to do a little bit more research, chat. Debuted on number 1 Billboard and 200. And peaked. Oh, peaked to top. Yeah, so I guess Pac then debuted at number 1, and then the Fugees got up to number 1, and then stayed at number 1 for a while. It became the longest running number 1 for a hip hop group, and topped the 1996 year-end chart. So eventually, it became the album of the year. But regardless, chat. Whatever we were saying about Me Against the World before. But yeah, let's look at the Grammy thing real quick as well too, because this was a nominated album. Oh, we were talking about the Super Bowl. That's what it was. With his commercial success, like you see, almost it more than doubles, of course, from strictly to Me Against the World, but from Me Against the World to All Eyes on Me, it doubles. But again, the doubling from 200 to 400 is almost impressive as the quadrupling or whatever from 3,800 or 38,000 to 240K. And shout out Doechii, of course. Shout out Killer Mike. Or no, who was rap album last year, chat? Jesus. What? The problem is it's with the Grammy timeline with the release dates. Like, was Killer Mike I'm pretty sure Killer Mike was the previous picture. And then it was Doechii. Yeah, Killer Mike and then Kendrick. See, because Kendrick is now the picture for the song, so it's like, did I see him on there as the picture for the so many Wikipedia pages to keep straight, chat. But shout out to Killer Mike, of course. I guess he did drop an album last year with that Sinners and Saints project. So he did, Doechii's project better than that one. But the Killer Mike album, classic stuff, chat. All time recent album release for our guy Killer Mike. But anyways, that was not the point. The point was Me Against the World. Naughty by Nature, Poverty's Paradise. So, I mean, peaked at number 3. Super successful. Feel Me Flow. I mean, an all-time great song, chat. Who doesn't have a great time listening to Feel Me Flow? But is this a better project than Me Against the World? Bone Thugs and Harmony, another super popular group. Old Dirty Bastard, of course. And I Wish by Skee-Lo as well, too. I mean, all iconic projects as well. We're not discounting the iconic status of any of these. All 10 out of 10s, but I'm just saying for us, I know which one has stuck in the replay value. And again, there's a name thing there as well, too. Pac is obviously the most successful of these guys. But then All Eyes on Me, of course, getting taken out by The Score. Another brutal one, which again, the double album thing. And that's probably, that's why Me Against the World, I think, gets sort of the love as a full project over All Eyes on Me, is because, it's a little more concise. But I think the double album is pretty much perfect for All Eyes on Me as well, too. And again, what he was going for. Like, Pac was not just a great artist, but he was also a great businessman as well too. And he would, with the movies and stuff, he knew how to advance his career. I mean, the man, was unfortunately, of course, passed at 25. Like, the man was able to accomplish all this stuff already, chat. Like, the man's got us wiped down right now. If he was having his career at the same time as us, I mean, we'd basically be, on the same age. We'd just be looking at Pac, be like, man, this guy's just absolutely kicking our butts right now. This guy's in movies making the best music of all time. Like, how do we keep up with Tupac? But, at this point, we get to look, and, not to say that he wouldn't still be kicking our butts if he was here. It's just, he'd be older. We'd respect it. He'd be a legend. We'd be like, okay, Pac, we get it, all that stuff. Like, he would have earned his spot, and not that he hadn't earned his spot back then, but again, the competitive nature of seeing a young person. But then you get somebody like Doechii as well too, just ascends, and you just gotta go, oh yeah, I mean, okay, I guess Doechii, just whatever, spice somebody gets and when they're made, chat, Paul, that's crazy, but. But just whatever thing you get that just makes you special, Chad. It just gives you that talent. It's like some people got it, and you got to just go, okay, Doechii's one of the ones you just got to go. Doechii's just going to achieve, and you just got to let him achieve. It's just going to do great things. But maybe it's the guy-to-guy thing, Chad. I don't know. Pause. But there would be a competitiveness, of course, where maybe Pac would just be another one where it's like Pac's got the talent. He's in the movies. He's making the music. You just got to give it up to Pac. You got to sit back and just be fans and enjoy the career and just watch it grow. Pause. Whoa. But yeah, of course, like we were saying, maybe his best project. It still depends on the day for me. I think like even if I had to choose, if like again the desert island, if I can only take one vinyl, one CD, if I only have memory for one album. And, I only have to download one half of All Eyes on Me at that point. But if I only have whatever scenario for one album, at the 30th anniversary, at this moment, I'm taking Me Against the World. There's still moments where anytime Ambition as a writer plays, it's like, okay, I guess I just have to take this album. And then, of course, Picture Me. Like, we can go through the track list of that song. Like we were already saying, I Ain't Mad At You. After the Super Bowl, I would have been taking I Ain't Mad At You. But, just like we said, that coziness factor of Me Against the World. This is, you can like fall asleep to this album. This is an album I can throw on and just, if I not having the action sequence dreams to All Eyes on Me, where it's like, how did I have a Fast and Furious car chase scene? It's like, oh, well, Me Against the World. There's some more, Dear Mama, there's some nice songs. Can You Get Away? There's going to be some nice, So Many Tears. Again, it's vulnerable. There's some deep messaging and some, complicated themes throughout, but good vibes, good times, and just that real, and not that Tupac always one of the more popular hip hop guys with the ladies as well too. But again, I think maybe this just vibe of Tupac is there's a charm. Again, like Can You Get Away? I'm giving myself away, Chad. It's one of those songs that you're like, okay, is this even a rap song? I don't care. It's just a song that I'm playing in my rotation. It's what it is. But, and you go through cycles with all the songs as well too. Like, it's been, I guess Me Against the World and So Many Tears. It's just been the popular songs where I guess before, it's been like, let's just play these songs that are getting lost in the rotation a little bit. But now it's like, okay, what are we going to deny ourselves the pleasure of these all-time hits? But, you got to give it props. You got to give it love. 30 years of all-time classic status for our guy Pac. And everyday, chat, it's just one of those, it's an everyday type album. It really is for us. So again, I don't know where it ranks in our pyramid, chat, for albums all time. The pyramid is still a work in progress. It's still constantly fluctuating. Like I said, I still can't even decide what the best Pac album is at this point. But it's still, I think, maybe more days than not, ends up being Me Against the World. And just the soul-y, jazzy type vibes of the album. It's just great. If it's not in your rotation, chat, at least get it in the rotation for this week to remember it for the 30th anniversary. I don't know. Can we get this album back on the Billboard, chat? GNX is back on the Billboard. Can we get Me Against the World back on the Billboard? I don't know if the Rem and Sam pod has the juice to quite pull that off. The Juice, chat. Hey, yo. Maybe we'll be watching Juice tonight. But is Juice back on Tubi? Juice is a Tubi classic. It do be on Tubi. Oh, chat, cancel us now. We might have to log off on that one. The problem is we can't end on a miss. That's crazy. It do be on Tubi is. We might have to just actually retire the feed. Oh, I forgot it's a Paramount. It's on Paramount. Yeah, that's right. It's a Paramount mainstay. It's one of the main reasons to have Paramount is they have Juice. Do they have the other Tupac movies? I don't think Poetic Justice is on there, which, again, I'm giving myself away, chat. Poetic Justice. I like watching Poetic Justice. It's just what it is. Janet Jackson and Tupac. Oh, it is on Tubi. Uh-oh. Did I just find the movie for tonight? I think we did, chat. It is what it is. John Singleton, how can we not? Above the Rim? Unless Above the Rim is streamed. Because Above the Rim, Poetic Justice does have a Tubi run. It do... Ooh. Oh, maybe Tubi is in on the anniversary as well. Because Above the Rim, also on Tubi. So people, get Me Against the World in your rotations. And get these Tupac movies on Tubi on the screen. We need to be just celebrating Pac. It's a week of Pac. It is what it is. A week of Pac, is that maybe means something else, chat? I don't know, but we're talking a week of Tupac. A week of Pac might mean something else. Hey, yo, pause. But in terms of the entertainment rotation, ooh, a double. The NBA games are over, chat. I guess, do we check in on this Clippers? Was it Clippers Kings? Who were the? Oh, Clippers Jazz. I think that's why we forgot who they were playing. Oh, okay, third quarter. Oh, Clippers Pelicans. Oh man, couldn't get it in 4 tries, chat. It's just what it is. We can't remember anything about Dennis Johnson or who the Clippers play. 16 seconds. The ESPN fooled us. I thought we could log off and still have a quarter of basketball to watch, but I guess we do have a basketball to watch, chat, because we're going to be watching Above the Rim. It's just what it is. And Above the Rim, 94? Oh, Poetic Justice, 93. So in a couple of years, these movies will be up for the rewatch, chat. Or who knows, maybe we'll just pause a Juice rewatch just because. Just at some point. When did that movie drop? What's the anniversary? January 17th? Well, we already missed an anniversary if we were just going to make up whatever, random year. The 33rd anniversary of Juice. So maybe next year we get the 34th anniversary rewatch. We all know 34 is an iconic anniversary for all these movies. So it'll be great to celebrate it for Juice. And I mean, Poetic Justice, we all know 33 years as well too. 1993 for Poetic Justice. That's also one of the more iconic movie year anniversaries. So we'll just have to do both those rewatch. Unless Poetic Justice, the anniversary was later this year. This is a summer drop. July 23rd, 1993. So the 32nd state. I forgot that the 32nd is more important than the 33rd, but not. It's almost as important as the 34th. So we'll really be locked in for that Juice one. But the 32nd anniversary, July 23rd. Lock it in, chat. Janet Jackson starring in Poetic Justice alongside Tupac Shakur. It's just what it is. But yeah, I guess basketball's done for the night. But we have Tupac to keep us entertained. It is what it is, chat. So we will be back. Do we have to clean up some of this free agency? I guess let's just look at any more major free agency stuff real fast. Because Darnold goes. Oh, Fields to the Jets. I did want to mention that real quick. Headline news, chat. Fields to the Jets. We got to make sure. We cannot leave before we talk about Justin Fields going to the 2 years, $40 million. So $30 million guaranteed. That's one of those, really congratulations type contracts to Justin Fields. $30 million guaranteed? That's awesome. I know he was celebrating that. They said, in Dubai when they announced it. So, he's already locking that money down, Chad. He already's making sure that guaranteed. Yep. Got it. Spent. All good to go. But you get to celebrate a little bit, of course, when you get the $30 million a year bag. But again, with the Darnold thing, this is another on-paper football move. It makes there are two paths for this move. There's the on-the-field, head knowledge sort of football stuff that makes a lot of sense. And then there's the dialogue course of the conversation thing where it is New York. It is a big market. It is just this, of course, disastrous history of quarterbacks, and they just haven't been able to quite line up finding the timeline with the guy and the career and all that stuff, and it just hasn't really worked out, unfortunately, for him. And for Fields, I know there's going to be that pressure. I know if he's maybe not playing well in New York, there's going to be that conversation, that extra conversation that you get for being the Jets quarterback. As much as the Jets maybe not seem like that headline is, and there are times where they're really not. But like Zach Wilson, there was a lot of Zach Wilson conversation. Like we do talk about the Jets do be on First Take in the headline news, like quite a bit. And Justin Fields is a popular name. I feel like he'll be a conversation starter for NFL circles as well. So there is always that Justin career side of things. Of course, and we're of course not saying we're not worried about the Justin career side of things, but there is that Justin Field career side of things where his ability and just the ease of the situation in New York, like, it's just not maybe the most ideal place for a guy that needs to continue to, and that needs maybe a good system around him as well too. Like, can we rely on the Jets to actually be that good system? But again, if you're the Jets, one, you didn't really have any options at quarterback this year. So that's not to say that, like, let's settle for Justin Fields. Well, that's, I guess the best we can do, blah, blah, blah. Like, I guess if you're pessimistic about Justin Fields, and that's the way you can think about it. But their other option was Aaron Rodgers. So let's be honest, I kind of would just rather have Fields than Rodgers. I get that Rodgers maybe brings more quarterbacky, IQ-y things to the table, but outside of that chat, outside of him in that film room, and to be honest, like, is Rodgers, and then he's just going to treat it like a dark retreat. So is Rodgers good to hang with in any room? Like Fields, he's a better hang, and just, dynamic athlete, younger guy. There's at least some upside there where, who knows? Like, you bring him in, maybe he is a hit guy. And that, I think, is the brilliance of this contract, is it's a 2-year deal. So $20 million a year, like, you look at Fields, maybe you go, okay, like, how does that compare to some other guys? Are there other guys in the league making $20 million a year that are much better football players than Justin Fields at other positions? Sure. But again, as a quarterback contract, $20 million a year, it's kind of a nice budget deal. And as a 2-year deal, it gives you that flexibility of it. I don't know what the options and stuff are here for it. We can look the details of it. But it gives you that flexibility where, I mean, like we're saying, there's 2 ways it could go with Fields. Fields could be bad next year. You never know. You could win 4 games with Justin Fields. But if you win 4 games with Justin Fields, guess what? You are all of a sudden now at the top of the draft in what should hopefully be a much stronger quarterback class in 2026. So I think this sneaky gives you both, like, it gives you kind of 3 options where you have, and it's not like they have a ton of flexibility to release him after this season if things just go horribly. But he goes he's really good route, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we got Justin Fields on a nice deal for 2 years. Maybe we find something continually favorable as well too in the future. I mean, I'm sure he'll continue to pursue the bag as possible as he should, but maybe he actually develops into a guy. Like maybe that's that's a route, of course, that is very realistic that could happen, but he could also, like we're saying, be bad. You get in the draft. Now you get your young quarterback. And then that third path is now Fields on that second year of that deal can be, I mean, and again, it's not an ideal position for Fields now. Pause in this case where he's got that young quarterback behind him again. Pause again. But for the Jets franchise anyway, you do have a gap there where you can draft a guy and either he takes the reins in year 1 or Fields is still on that last year of the deal where he can be in that role and let that young guy sit and develop for a year. And again, you go, Fields, is he going to be a veteran that is going to bring a young quarterback along? Probably not. 27 years old, he's probably going to be competing for a job as well, too. But, you could always bring in a third quarterback veteran, I guess. You just have 2 quarterback rooms, the Justin Field quarterback room and the future quarterback room, and then, it becomes another really sticky situation. But I like the upside of it, and unfortunately, the downside of it as well, too, could be beneficial for the team. And to speak on the pressure, I'm saying that the point I was making earlier with the pressure is that is definitely a route. But what I kind of personally think is, I don't know if the Rodgers thing was the last straw for the Jets fans, but there are a lot of Jets fans that if it was going to be a last straw moment, that was it. And the outness on the New York, like as much as the New York Jets and the New York market is a topic of conversation, going forward, that could change. The Jets could be just a team that at least maybe the fan base doesn't care about as much, and maybe the fan base doesn't have the same the fan base is giving up hope in a way. So whatever those expectations would have been for, now Justin Fields, is he going to be the guy, like another young quarterback prospect going to die in New York? Like, as much as that could have been the topic of conversation, I don't know if there is any expectations for the New York, for him as he, like, all that stuff. Like, it just is kind of like, hey, it's Fields. We have a guy, like I'm saying, either it's good, it's bad, and we'll just proceed with whatever is there. So that to me is a much better quarterback situation than, and Rodgers, I guess, is that at the end of the day, but the upside I don't believe is there with Fields as it is with Rodgers. And the locker room stuff, whatever, the vibe stuff just wasn't the same as well. And unfortunately, his time probably had to be at an end in New York. So to get new vibes and to give yourself this sort of future flexibility is, I think, a really good quarterback move for the New York Jets. So again, maybe there is a section of the media and the fan base that is going to, and there's going to be the questions asked, just, it doesn't matter where he goes. There's going to be questions for any starting quarterback if there are questions to be asked. But I am a fan of this. I like this. Fields, get him a starting job. Let's, the Wilson thing was still a little weird last year. And yeah, have there been excuses everywhere when do we have optimists that Fields is going to be like a top 5 quarterback in the league? Like, like we're saying, I'm not counting it out. Like, Fields has all the upside in the world, and he could, be extra motivated by the contract to work really hard and get in the gym, and now all of a sudden he just gets out there and he's a better player. New system again, though, not the weirdness of Russell Wilson, and maybe the Steelers offense still wasn't great last year, but still it was kind of decent. And roster wise as well, I know Pittsburgh's defense, player for player, it's close. Quinn Williams versus TJ Watt, Sauce Gardner versus Minka Fitzpatrick, Highsmith versus Quincy Williams. It's a close defensive comparison, but skill guys, I guess now the Steelers have Metcalf and Pickens, so maybe it gets close offensively as well. But Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson is a great combination. And maybe, again, for Garrett Wilson, maybe this isn't like a great, now Garrett Wilson has a guy that is going to get him the stats. But, Justin Fields did have a little DJ Moore connection, and maybe it wasn't all the route down the field stuff, but he got him the ball. There was great DJ Moore stats in there. Breece Hall is probably the best running back that he's played with as well too. So, it's a good offensive system for him to be in. I guess I'm thinking, especially, probably an upgrade over Najee Harris from last year. I know the receivers, like we're saying for Pittsburgh, did get better, but it's a good team for Fields. It's okay, I think, if they're bad, because again, it gets them in that spot to get a young guy, which, just restarts the hope. It gets Jets fans reinvested maybe if they're back top. And again, 2026 class might be one to be at the top of, because that could, I think we're in the Arch Manning territory now. In Indy, I know, Anthony Richardson, all that stuff, but we might have to start thinking Arch Manning, because we just signed Daniel Jones, people. We're not going to talk about the Colts. 1 year, $14 million. I like the rest of the free agency, to be honest. I like Bynum, and I like Ward. And I like the fact that we're spending. We haven't been a big spending team since Ballard has been there. And, we put a little money. I guess maybe last year, I'd have to go back and look exactly, remember who all we signed. But, we put a little money into the secondary this year. I like Bynum is a above average starting safety, $15 million a year. I like Bynum. I think Bynum, was he a Pro Bowler this year? I really like his upside there. And Ward as well too, like we were saying, a little older, there's some injury stuff, but 3-year deal is not too bad. Ballard gets these corners a little bit older, like Gilmore as well, so hopefully the path is not the same. Gilmore requested a trade. Ward's probably going to end up doing the same thing. But now, draft-wise, we still can draft young players, and we have young players that we have drafted. Juju Brents, if he can, it's not the healthiest secondary with Ward and Juju Brents, but now he can take a little bit off of his plate. Outside guy as well too. Kenny Moore can be the versatile slot guy. You can use him back in that role as well too. And I just like having that safety help back there. We just have needed to solidify that safety spot. And Bynum is, like I'm saying, he's a really, really good starter as a baseline. But I could see him continuing to get better as well too as he hits his peak years. And maybe there's a couple of Pro Bowls and stuff for him. Safety position in the AFC, I guess we'd have to compare, but now everybody makes a Pro Bowl, so it doesn't matter. But I like what we did compared to the, some of the Jags. The Jags went out and they signed a lot of guys, and Patrick McCarry, solid chat. But Jordan Lewis as well too. We love Jordan Lewis. Hainsey, that Bucs defensive line has had moments of being really good in the past as well too. Nick Mullins, just in case, I guess. De'Ame Brown, solid. They traded Christian Kirk, so they got off of his money. I think Kirk went to the Texans, so I guess that won't be here in the free agency thing. But they get Nick Neiman, Trayman Smith, Sheldon Rankins, Lincoln Tomlinson, Derek Barnett re-signed, Braxton Berrios. So, they invested a lot as well, too, with Danielle Hunter and stuff over the last couple of seasons. But I think we've had the best free agency division in free agency. And Daniel Jones, I was gonna try to make a complimentary Daniel Jones point. Maybe I should, because he's our new, a new Colts quarterback. I almost called him our new Colts quarterback. Anthony Richardson, come on, buddy. We need you to get in the gym and start really working, because it's going to be Daniel Jones in week 8, if not. And I don't know if I can stand that. But I was going to say, at least he might be able to provide, again, in the way that, because, we just, I guess, want to be an 8-win team if we're not going to have a young quarterback. We just want to be an 8-win team with a young quarterback or an old quarterback. So maybe he gives you that feistiness week to week. And again, not long-term deal, $14 million. It's not Phil Rivers on $20 million a year. It's not like we're sacrificing a bunch of the money. And, it's different size, percentage of the cap back then as well, too. Not as crazy, but still enough to where it's like, okay, that's kind of your move for free agency. But again, we get some veterans on the defense, and we get a little bit of a winning team. I don't know if it's not like if Anthony Richardson doesn't work out, let's go in and draft a guy. Maybe we're back in the free agency mode and then maybe trade. Who knows? Maybe Brock Purdy. Maybe we're a Brock Purdy team, chat. I've been so complimentary of Brock Purdy. I got to start bracing myself for when he shows up. But the Bears have been active in making trade. Grady Jarrett was the other name. I was going to say they got of course, the Chiefs guy, Tooney. But Garrett, really great career. I know maybe is he the same type of guy? Who knows? But it's a solid veteran to bring in and boost the baseline of the team. And Dayo Adangbo had a great run for the Colts as well. Did he get probably a little expensive for us? Sure. But I love that he was able to get his money on the Bears. And, hopefully he's able to be a really solid sort of maybe more down-to-down starter for him as well, too. $16 million is still in that kind of pass rushery territory, but I think that's almost what Josh Sweat was making in the past. I guess he's at $19 million right now. So is Dayo Adangbo $3 million a year less than Josh Sweat? Yeah, Josh Sweat might have been the best defensive lineman in that Super Bowl for the Eagles. And that's a good get by the Cardinals. And like we're saying with the Eagles, they're continuing in that draft. Nolan Smith, of course, the young interior guys as well, too, are just as impactful as the ed guys that they've had over the last. And not they haven't had the impactful interior guys with Fletcher Cox and stuff. Over the last in the previous iterations of the team. But with Kyler Murray, being expensive and, they're committing to him as quarterback, and he's still as good. He was a Pro Bowler that first half of he was like a sneaky MVP for a couple of weeks there. So, you continue to get Kyler healthy, maybe for a full season. And Marvin Harrison, junior year 2, now a real stud pass rusher. And the Cardinals always get suckered in for this guy as well, too. Like, I'm trying to remember, they re-signed, was it Marcus Golden or Alex Golden? Like, one of those, really, third down specialist type. Like, they love this type of pass rusher. But I love Josh Sweat as well, too. So I'm not going to get mad that the Cardinals went out and got one of the better free agents. What was the ranking here? Let's take a look. I think Milton Williams, number 1. Shout out. Again, that Eagles defensive line was the mainstay of that team. I guess New England was a big spender this year, so we should mention New England as well quickly. Because, again, big spender, but I was looking at some of the guys going, okay. Like, Morgan Moses, sure. Spillane was really good last year, so we can't get mad at Spillane. Carlton Davis, let's hope, chat. I cross my fingers for Pats fans for that one. The Lions fans did have money to give to a corner. They did sign DJ Reed, which I think if you're going to choose between DJ Reed and Carlton Davis, you're going to take DJ Reed. What did he get? 3 for 48. So he's at 16 a year, and Carlton Davis is at, I believe he was at that 16 a year mark. 18 a year. So the Pats were just not taking any chances. And Carlton Davis is awesome, Chad. I love Carlton Davis. One of my favorite corners in the league. If I'm not proving my point, like I said earlier, I'm telling you, I'm going to be pro a lot of the guys that we bring up, Chad. It's just what it is. I like to bring up people that, we're gonna say positive things about. Hopefully, I stay true to that. I'm probably gonna say negative things about the next handful of guys. I actually am going to, because that's why I brought up the Pats, Chad. Yikes! We're all hypocrites. I'm not good at this. It is what it is. I'm a terrible person. But Milton Williams, big money. I said Carlton Davis, and the thing is, they have Christian Gonzalez on the rookie deal, so it's, again, one of those things. Maybe the corner room makes sense. Christian Gonzalez is your number one guy. You're paying a lot for a number two corner, but if he can be really successful in that role, then it'll be worth its money. And Harold Landry, $14 million, he's even cheaper than Deo Odengbo, so I like Deo Odengbo, though, so I'm not going to say a bad thing about him. But Mac Hollins, special teamer / great receiver. Love to see it. But, a couple of solid veterans, and the defense has been kind of course, sneaky. They were really injured and really banged up last year, which was part of the reason that, they had Drake May last year, so they weren't taking last year, but part of the reason that they were, kind of tailing off. They're not, I guess, that they ever got a hot start, but that even with Drake May playing so well, they were not able to win some of these games. But hey, you get Barmore back. So now you have Barmore and Harold Landry, and Barmore and Milton Williams is crazy, honestly. That's a crazy interior. That could be pretty deadly in the right scenario. You get a big upgrade from Keon White. You're going to get hopefully a big upgrade from Keon White just playing next to, 3 solid pros here. Solid, like we said, starters in the secondary with Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. Duggar and Peppers are both good. So the defense is really good. The defense could take a pretty big step up. And, of course, you're bringing in Vrabel as well, too. So you're getting that. Vrabel could be worth a win and a half by himself. So that combined with, they're still going to need to upgrade the receivers. But, again, with what you're able to do with the defense, now you're in a position to focus on the offensive line. And did they trade for... Oh, no, Leighton Robinson. I'm thinking Cam Robinson again, chat. Cole Strange at center. Oh, man. This offensive line is going to need some work. So, I get Morgan Moses is just at least a veteran you can bring in there. But he's starting to enter his Jason Peter years as well, too. Which, shout out the legend, just retired, Hall of Famer. One of the greatest to ever do it, especially for this generation. But... now you can focus offense in the draft. And you still need to focus, of course, on the premium positions when the value presents itself, or when you think the value, like if there's a guy that you like at a premium position, you kind of got to value that as well. But now you're free to have the versatility to do these things. Maybe even make a trade. Of course, I think the Pats are probably ideally going to make a trade in general. Maybe bulk up some of that stock. But second rounder now... yeah, still working. Double, I guess, Travis Hunter in the first. Offensive line in the second. But who do they have second round receivers here? Ooh, Abuka and Burden both off the board right before the Pats. So maybe if, I guess the Giants are above them, Titans are above them, the Jags wouldn't be trading up. So they wouldn't get over the teams in the second to get a receiver. But if they got some extra equity in the trade down in the first, then they can move up maybe a couple spots and get a receiver in the second. Or who's the next receiver off the board here? Probably somebody. Jaden Higgins? Okay. Okay, shout out. Trey Harris? Okay. Not some names that we're familiar with in the process. Elick Aomaner from Stanford. Jake Beck? Shout out. So maybe it's not some of the more popular names anyways after you get out there Burden and Mbuka. So they could get, aggressive in trading and trying to walk away with a top 30, in the top 35, trying to walk away with a receiver and an offensive lineman. I think that would be, if they were able to do that, then it's like, okay, I think maybe we could start getting some visions of what this team could be. And to be honest, like we're saying, Vrabel and Drake May could elevate. It's crazy that we're talking. Could Drake May elevate this offense in year 2? But it may just be that type of guy, chat. And, Booty's a nice player, chat. Can't just say Booty's nice, but, maybe we can. I'd stand by that statement. I think Rem and Sam can get behind that statement in the receiver and other things, chat. It's just what it is. But, Mac Hollins, if Josh Allen can make Mac Hollins a starting level receiver. Can Drake May? I think that's the test. This will be if Drake May is already on Josh Allen level. But in terms of other big players for free agency, team-wise, I guess the Dolphins got pretty aggressive. Not spending a ton of money, though. It was, some minor contract guys. But just to hit the rankings one more time real fast and double check. San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Miami. Oh, we're on the wrong way of the rankings, chat. Tennessee, bringing in some offensive linemen. Offensive lineman Banks. Oh, another offensive lineman out of San Francisco, so that's tough as well, too. Ooh, Holland to the Giants is nice, so they continue to bulk up their defense as well. Adam to the Rams. Should have mentioned that. So they were talking about waiving Cooper Kupp as well, which I guess has to be a money thing. So you're getting Adams at $22 million a year. So I thought Kupp played kind of nice in some of the games that he was still out there. Like, I know his usage wasn't necessarily the most, and it was more like Kupp had a fun drive or two, but he was still an impactful guy, and it felt like you could go to him in moments when you absolutely needed him, and he would, still as reliable as ever. So, $22 million in dead cap, and I thought I saw that as a report, like they were going to waive him if a trade partner wasn't there. And maybe, again, he's just not happy with his role. That could be it. Maybe I'm not fully reading the reports, just reading, selective headlines. But, at this point, why not just pay money for one season and just say, hey, guess what? Screw it. We have Stafford, Puka, Kupp, and Devontae Adams on the team for our offense, and Kyron Williams. And Higbee, I guess. Higbee gets to go in the graphic on Bleacher Report just to bulk up the graphic and make it crazy. Be like, wow, the greatest show on turf is back with this lineup. But apparently that's not the route they want to take. They just say, hey, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp on the outside is great. But again, Devontae Adams and Puka, all those three of those guys can play together. Kupp on the slot, Adams and Puka on the outside, and all those three guys are versatile. You can mix and match them. Great receivers. I say just run it back. Pay the money. Kroenke, you run Walmart. Just fork over a couple extra bucks for Cooper Kupp for one season, and then, make it work after that. But Allen to Minnesota? Okay. I guess they're out on Darnold now, and Rodgers did go to the Steelers as well too officially, right? So let's look up the Vikings here quick. Maybe it's just fully committing to McCarthy, which shout out. We would love that. Love to see McCarthy get his opportunity right now. And they didn't go like a sneaky veteran route. They didn't re-sign Daniel Jones. So does that say something about Daniel Jones, chat? The Vikings could have used a veteran quarterback. Daniel Jones, maybe he's a good budget option for him. They have him in the building, and they said, no, you can go to the Colts. That's fine. But with him and who's the guy they drafted last year? Dallas Turner and then Grenard. Again, that like the Eagles proving the importance in defensive line. These teams continue to invest in it. And, the Eagles obviously have a special offensive line. They can lose their starting defensive line and basically bring back awesomely talented one in replacing of it just with guys that they already have on the roster. But, shout out to Hufanga and Greenlaw. You got to love that. Greenlaw. If Bo Nix is going to compete for a division title against Mahomes, he's going to need these guys that have lost a Super Bowl against Mahomes to do it with. But, Greenlaw and Hufanga are great additions to the team as well, too. So we could clean up any other free agency stuff as it continues to unfold as well, too. But like I said, we'll be back later this week. Weekend should be stacked, should be fun with tournaments, with basketball, with entertainment stuff going on. So we'll narrow down exactly what the main focus will be here as we get closer, and we'll see what the March Madness stuff is looking like. Are we going to get like a Cooper Flag main event type game on Friday night that we're just going to have to absolutely tune into? Who knows? There's some other stuff that we're keeping our eye on as well. But subscribe. You'll have to just, I guess, pop in and see what's going on Friday night, because that will be the next time we are live. Subscribe here on the podcast feeds as well if you guys want to listen to those versions of it. The social feeds as well, Instagram and TikTok, keep on chugging along as well. But that'll do it for tonight. So thank you guys for hanging out. Shout out to the legend one more time, Tupac, R.I.P., and we will be back. 30 years, chat. of amazing replay value out of one of the great albums ever, and we'll be firing it up. I guess we're degenerates, so we've got an earbud in listening to Me Against the World while Juice and Above the Rim is on the TV. It's just what it is, Chad. But I guess we better get to it. Sounds like a fun night ahead for us, so hopefully you guys do the same. Thanks for jumping on.